All right, we are back, huh? We're back at the 9 Club, everybody. Today we have a very special
3 specials?
Special guest, Mr. Todd Huber is with us. How are you, dude?
I'm good. I'm really good. It's nice to see you guys.
Dude, it's good to see you.
I feel like we're old friends.
Yeah.
Probably known John over 25 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, did he? Oh, right here.
Yeah, that's
right
an
here.
epic
You brought
board.
in
That's
a
26 years ago.
1999 Thanks Skate Dubs. You
I don't
back
even
then
know.
your writing was atrocious.
Yeah, I don't
you
even know
need
what I said right there.
to- And your signature's different.
Yeah, I changed it up.
You changed it up.
I simplified it.
Okay,
Yeah.
just a JW.
J and W. that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. But dude, thank you so much for coming. This is going to be so interesting episode because not only were you the co-founder, the founder of Skatelab,
Co-founder
of
yeah,
Skatelab,
2 of
and
us.
ran that for God, how many years?
21 years.
And then I take it that the Skatelab kind of kicked off the Skateboarding Museum and Hall of Fame aspect of your life after, because you had a lot of old boards in there.
Yeah, and so I had most of the boards before Skatelab started, and my garage was full. And I was trying to figure out where can I put all this stuff so others can enjoy it. And I took my dad to the Peterson Auto Museum for Father's Day. And I thought when I was there, God, there's somebody that has enough love for cars to dedicate a city block on Wilshire to cars. And it was the guy that owned the Hot Rod magazine, the Peterson Publishing. I thought, I'm doomed because there's not anybody that I can think of that has any money that gives it, enough love for skateboarding to build the museum. And literally the next day, a guy that I'd known for like 25 years since high school, who was on the Dodgers, walked into my work.
Who was on the Dodgers? What are you talking about?
The guy,
Tommy Lasorda?
No, the guy I started Skatelab with.
Oh.
The season was over, and he walked into my door, and it was like a light bulb went off over my head. There's my dude. I'm gonna ask him about it, But he was quiet guy. He was a super quiet guy. He wasn't really into the spotlight or any of that. And I asked him about it, and he said, "No, I'm not interested."
Fernando Valenzuela.
No. His name was Scott Radinsky. And his name was
familiar.
Scott.
Kurt Gibson. No,
He was a low key guy.
Okay.
He was just a low key guy. And I just ran the idea by him of it was more of like a man cave. Hey, let's rent a warehouse where we can have like a pool table, a ping pong table, a hoop, a fridge in there, and like maybe 3 or 4 of us will have a key, and we can go there and have a couple beers or whatever.
Sounds great.
It was a cool idea. And then he said, "Nah, I'm not into it." But he was in a band at the time called 10 Foot Poles, a pretty popular punk rock band. And they went on tour, and there was a skate park in Fresno called Sugar Hill. And his band played there. And he noticed that when the band played, they cleared out the ramps. It was music at night. So he came back, and he said, "I get it. I understand what you're talking about. I went to this place in Fresno. Let's go for it." And so that's how it all started.
That's how Skatelab started.
That's how it started. He put up the money, and he got paid back the money, but he put it up to start. It was like $100,000.
Okay.
We started for $100,000, and
The year?
1997. 97. But I had started collecting like 8 years earlier, and I started collecting. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I go deep, but I was in college. I was going to be an attorney. My dad was an attorney. And I was going to graduate college, and I went in to see my counselor. I was going to go over my transcripts to make sure I could graduate. And I was a cigarette smoker. And I walked into the meeting, and the counselor went, "Hey, before we start the meeting, one word of advice: don't go into a meeting stinking like cigarettes. It's bad. It's not. You're going to be an attorney. You came to this meeting in college, and you smell like cigarettes. It's not a good thing not a good way to enter a meeting."
Okay.
And I was really embarrassed, and I quit smoking. My wife talked me into going to see a hypnotist, which I was like, "Yeah, okay, hypnotist, sure."
Well, you were married back then?
She was my girlfriend at the time. I didn't get. That was in '89. I got married in '92.
Okay.
And she was smoked too. So we went to see this hypnotist, and as part of the program, the hypnotist said, "How much money do you spend on cigarettes a year? Write it down, and then what would you do if you had that money in your pocket today?" And the day before, I was in. Melrose used to be a really cool street to go and shop or look for cool shit. There was a shop called Off the Wall, and they sold like old Bob's Big Boy statues and neon signs and bicycles. And there was a bike hanging up, and I just saw it the day before. It was $1,200. It's Schwinn Phantom. And I remember saying, "How much is the bike?" And the guy's $1,200. I just like put my head down, coincidentally, I was spending $100 a month on cigarettes, which equaled $1,200. So I wrote down, I'm going to buy an old bicycle with this money. And so I quit smoking. And one positive thing that I didn't realize was going to happen when I quit was I was going to have all this energy and time. Because when you smoke, you're doing nothing. You're literally, you can't, cut a piece of wood or climb a tree. You're just standing there smoking. And when you do that a lot and suddenly you don't do it anymore, you've got all this extra time and your body.
Smoking brings your energy level down too.
So on top of that, my energy level went through the roof because I'm already a pretty energetic guy, which I didn't even realize because I was just low energy smoking. So I said, I'm going to look for old bicycles as a hobby. I'm going to start going to swap meets and garage sales. And it was super frustrating because at the time I was in my mid-20s. All the older dudes had bought all the cool bikes because they came out in the 50s. So I never went to a garage sale and found the Phantom or any cool bikes. I was getting all the leftover girl bikes and it was frustrating. And my buddy in Florida had just bought this Nash sidewalk surfboard at a garage sale for $1. And he's like, dude, forget about the bikes. You're a skater. Start looking for skateboards. And he sent me like a fax of the one he got. And then that weekend I went to a swap meet in Ventura and there's a board and it was $20. And the guy would not come off the $20. And I was like, $5. And he wouldn't do it. I bought it. And I had to lie to my wife or my girlfriend at the time and tell her it was only $5 because she would have freaked if she thought I spent $20 on a skateboard.
Do you remember what skateboard?
Yeah, it's hanging up. I still have it hanging up.
Which one?
What's cool about it is it's a very rare one. Okay. It's called the Surf and Susie. And it's red with white stripes. And when I give the tours of the museum, sometimes people ask, what was your first one? But even if they don't, I say that was the first one. And a lot of people are really shocked to believe that I know it, where it was, that it was the first one. But for the longest time, I knew every board, where I got it, how much I paid for it.
How do you remember all? Because I
don't anymore. I used to.
Oh, you used to.
Yeah,
okay,
every single board. But then I would eventually I would buy collections, and I'd get like 100 boards at a time, and it got harder to keep track of them all. But there are some that I still remember because a lot of it was negotiations, and the swap meets that I used to go to, it was a lot of like Latinas. I don't know, for whatever reason, it was like these Mexican ladies. Maybe their dudes were out doing their job, and this was their way of like bringing in money. And I worked with all these Mexican dudes, and I was telling them I was frustrated that I couldn't communicate with these ladies that I wanted skateboards. And this guy's all, no, it's easy, man. Tienes patinetas. That just means, do you have skateboards? Okay. And so I started saying, tienes patinetas? And then the ladies eventually understood, and then they would wait for me. Senor. This one lady, she had a big station wagon. She'd go, Senor, come on. She'd tear the station wagon. She'd go, She'd start pulling them out of the back. And it was cool. Like I had this whole network of women that were buying boards for me, and the board started at $10, and eventually they were like $30. Price started going up, but that was one way that I used to really find a lot of skateboards. And another way was before eBay, there was this newspaper called the Toy Shop, and it was just like eBay in a newspaper, and you could bid on skateboards, but if not on skateboards, on toys. There was never skateboards. But if you subscribed, they gave you a free classified. So in the free classified, I said, wanted old skateboards. We'll pay top dollar. And I started getting calls from all over the country. Like usually on Sunday night was a swap meet day. So like on Sunday night, I had like a network of pickers. I had a guy in Omaha. I had a guy in Louisville, Kentucky. I had a guy in Portland. I had a guy in Jacksonville. I had like 5 people that would find shit for me. And then I worked, and my boss, I'm still friends with him now. I never told him this, but there was this thing that you could send out, was called the call tag. I worked in the shipping department. So on Monday, I'd send out all these call tags, which meant whoever I bought the board from could just put it in a box. It would come back to me. And I'd send them like a money order. And that's how I started getting boards from around the country.
Oh, wait, you were using your job, and your job was paying for?
Yeah, basically. And not all of them, but all the ones that I got out of state.
Did you ever tell him? You told him though, right?
Well, maybe.
Well, he knows now.
Probably not.
He knows now.
I mean, he's still my friend.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
It wasn't that much. I better downplay it.
But where are you? Like at the time, you said you're with your girlfriend and everything. Where are you keeping all of this stuff? Every time you go to the swap meet, and you just throw it in the garage.
No, so I'd come home from the swap meet, and eventually I had to buy a duffel bag because I couldn't carry out I could only carry like 2 or 3 boards.
Did you know at that time what you were going to be doing with all these, or were you just going to resell them?
No. It was therapy for me. So really? I'd get home on the weekend, and I'd get the board, and I'm not a restore guy. I would never repaint or polish something. I would usually just take the wheels off, clean the bearings, and put it all back together and hang it up in my garage. Okay. And then I started. Val Surf was one of my good customers. I worked in the surf industry. So I remember asking Mark Richards, who owned Val Surf, hey, do you have any old skateboards? Because Val Surf was the first mail order, and they had everything. We used to go there. We couldn't believe it when my mom told us, "Oh, Val Surf, that's in Woodland Hills. We can just go there." But when I got older, he was one of my customers, and he'd be like on Friday, "Hey, can you deliver me 4 cases of wax for the weekend?" And I would just drive out there to help him out, so he'd have it for the weekend. And he'd go, "Want to see the skateboards I have?" And he was burnt. He had a house in the beach in Oxnard. He was literally burning his old boards as firewood. And I remember saying, "Dude, you're like burning $10 bills." And now they're like burning $500 bills.
Yeah.
And he a couple times gave me stacks this big, like
Really?
3 or 4 times. So then I started getting new old stock 70s boards.
Okay.
And I have still now probably 500. Nice. Like you name it, like Z-Flex, Dogtown, like a lot of really hard to get new old stock 70s boards. And I got a lot from one guy, Mark Richards.
Okay.
And I'm really grateful because he didn't care. No one he saw, and even me, I was always known as a guy that would never get rid of anything. So if it ended up in my collection, you were safe to know that I still had it. And it's still that way. Like it's pretty rare if I sell anything. And it's only if I sell something, it's like maybe I had 10 of them, or maybe somebody's donated it for the purpose of us to raise money, and or whatever.
I mean, I've been to the Skateboarding Museum out in Simi Valley, and the back of your place is
Is it
there's
organized?
a lot. Yeah, it's well organized too.
Yeah,
I mean,
thanks.
you have like
Thank you.
you have like shelves and different eras of boards and
It's
stuff like that.
organized visually.
70s, 80s, like kind of.
Yeah. I have so I started making these when I moved from Skatelab to my new spot. I just threw all these boards in piles, and then I started pulling them out of the piles on video and sharing them, and then putting them in a bag and putting them in a box. And then I would date the box that I did the video. So now I can go back and look on Instagram on a certain date to see what's in box 9.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
Like somebody was
That's
just
dope.
asking me for, do you have, I saw you had a Lucero board. Can you find it? So I had to go back and look at the tape to see what box it was
We could
in.
also
So-
write it down.
I
Use
know.
Excel
It's
spreadsheet.
not my. It's just. It's funner.
He's like, I do it my way.
No.
Okay.
I could write it down, but
Yeah.
I suck at Excel. But the other thing was, by doing these videos, it really enabled people to see what I had without having to come
100%,
there.
right.
Yeah.
Now I get recognized. I went out to dinner just last night, and a guy came up to my table, and he's like, "Dude, I love your videos." My wife was scratching her head, like, "What the fuck?" Like, she couldn't believe it, So
She's like, I've
it's
been living
helped.
with this guy's hobby for years.
Yeah, well, she just didn't. Back to the first question was where I put them all.
yeah.
My garage eventually just became full, and so I would really wanted to put it somewhere, which was how the whole warehouse concept came.
Okay.
And so, my former partner, he said, "Hey, let's not make this man cave. Let's just go all in and make a skate park."
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I go, like, really? Like, what a switch, And like, it was his idea to make a skate park. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's go for it. And my whole thing was just really the history. And one thing I always have to tell people is I'm not a historian, although I've picked up a lot along the way, just being around skateboarding and history. I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan. And sometimes it's weird. Like, I had a meeting where it was myself, Lucero, and Lance. And it was just weird. I felt like, wow, like, how am I in a meeting with Lance and Lucero? Like, I'm just a fan, It was really weird. But
Yeah.
and a lot of times I'm not good at giving myself credit because after this amount of time, I can see it. Yeah, they appreciate what I've done, or they've known me long enough. And I remember the first time I met Lance, probably like in 1997, he walked up and handed me a board that he had done all the art on it, and it said Skatelab 1997. And then it said dash, and it left it empty, and then I recently said, Lance, let's fill in the date, and he didn't want to. He's like, no, because you never know what could happen, like. Wow. So now I consider those guys friends now.
Of course.
And
But I mean, even with starting your collection and Skatelab and everything, like you definitely changed the skateboarding history in the sense of like look at little Torey Pudwill. He came up there at Skatelab, and a lot of people came up there at Skatelab. And then through the Hall of Fame and the museum, it's like you've held on to all this stuff so people could go there and look at all this, the history.
True.
know?
And when you mentioned Torey, it's such a great memory, because before Skatelab even opened, him and his dad and his brother were climbing around the scrap wood piles, peeking in the windows. And then when we opened, he was the first kid in the door.
That's crazy.
And the second kid was his brother, Jesse. And like, I have membership card. I used to give membership cards, and I'm number 1. Torey's number 2 and Jesse's number 3. And like,
Wow.
it was crazy. And like,
Jesse worked there.
yeah, he worked there for a long time. And I'll say, I'm still really good friends with Jesse. He runs Thank You and Glassy, and they're right down the street. And after Skatelab ended, I wasn't friends with everybody at the end, but Jesse's and Torey, they're really good dudes. And I just saw this video of Torey at Tampa. I don't know, it was like a board slide kick flip, like whatever the fuck it was.
People
Like,
give a back lip.
that was insane.
Yeah.
He was doing stuff almost that gnarly when he was 6 and 7. And like, that's why I had that board signed, because there was something about him. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, this is Torey's first board?
He had like a Nash board, like a hand-me-down shitty board. That was his first like real board.
You knew to have him sign that board back then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's nuts.
He was
Like,
that nutty.
that's
and
gnarly.
And not only him, like any pro that came through. I mean, just like John, like anytime a pro would come through. But yeah, that he was special because he was a little kid. Yeah. And most of my boards are from pros, like John. And Torey was just a customer, just a kid. But there was. I mean, I think prodigy is the right word.
Sure.
Like, here's a kid you could watch. And my buddy was an Excel spreadsheet master. And after a couple of years, he took all my accident injury reports. I was trying to get my insurance rates down. They were trying to base my insurance on the national stats. And I'm like, hey, I've had a skate park for 3 years. The national stats don't matter to me. I'm going to make my own stats. We've only called the ambulance this time. And my buddy goes, who's this Torey Pudwill kid? Because he has like 4 times the amount of accident injury reports than anybody else.
Really?
And I remember there was a toy machine demo, and Ed Templeton threw a board out, typical board toss.
God.
And Torey's got the board, and he got boom, clocked, knocked out cold. His mom came running in. He's like crying and crying and crying. It was insane, man. It was insane. But he had more accident injury reports. So not only did he rip, he took it, man. Like he tried and failed.
I remember meeting him his first time skating Beverly Hills, and he had the 9 stair at Beverly Hills High, and he had broke his arm, and he was skating with it.
Yeah,
so he must have broken that.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Probably so. Like he was gnarly, but we didn't call the ambulance. Like his dad probably drove him to urgent care or something. And their dad and the mom, but especially the dad, he's a real quiet dude, but he was a real cool guy. He always showed up with a big cup of coffee. Oh, look at that. See, that vert wall is insane. Right there. He'd ollie off that quarter into that vert wall. And so that was called the fly box. And there was one time when we had him and Mike V at summer camp, and they were having a contest who could go over the most boards. And Mike V had to cheat and go around the side with his board, and Torey totally beat him.
No way.
But he I don't know, it was funny. And there was another, there's a Spitfire ad where John Cardiel was ollieing over this pyramid that we had, and Torey was matching him every run. Like John Cardiel would kickflip this pyramid. They just showed it, but Torey would go right after him too. Like it was nothing, and he was like 7. It was like Cardiel and then Torey. Like it was fun to watch.
Well, I mean, you saw a lot of great skateboarders come out out of Simi Valley.
Yeah.
I only went there a few times. It was super far from me.
No, it was far, but
to Simi Valley.
I remember one time Nadas came on his lunch hour from Huntington Beach or wherever.
Amazing.
It might have been from here, but people would come. At the time we opened, there was only like 4 skate parks in America.
Yeah, there was nothing around.
And like seriously, people would come from Long Beach, Bakersfield, San Luis Obispo, and that eventually was sort of the demise of Skatelab. And one of the reasons that we were successful is because we created a need. That we knew there was a need, and we sort of fulfilled the need.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of people were really angry that Simi Valley didn't have a free park. It's because we were fulfilling the need in the community. And I guarantee the people that were angry would trade Skatelab back for our shitty free park any day. You know what I mean? But eventually, parks started opening that were good. Like first it was Camarillo, big deal. But then Santa Clarita opened up, which was good.
Oh, yeah.
And then Westlake opened up, and then Moore Park. And those 3 right there, and then Pedlo, it was kind of like a little death sentence for us,
I just think that as skateboarding, and rent and everything got more expensive, like it's so hard to run a privately owned indoor park and charge money and
everything. It was hard.
I mean, how long was that one open in Ventura for? The one
only a
Skate
few
Factory?
years. Skate Street.
Skate Street.
Oh, that's what it was called.
Yeah, it was a beautiful park, and they opened a couple
huge.
months before us. But what happened there was they would have lasted longer, but the owner died. He got killed on a motorcycle, and when he got killed it was kind of under religious undertones, like they were backed by a church, and when he died, they tried to carry on. They moved to a smaller location. They tried to carry it on, but I think once the guy with the passion isn't there, it's really hard to continue in a way that seems the same. And I think that happened with Skatelab too. I said once I left, it only lasted like 2 months, and that's not being cocky. That's just what happened.
Right.
And I
well,
think
you were the backbone.
I agree, and I just think that happens a lot with restaurants.
Yeah.
You know, the owner dies, the kids try and keep it, it fails usually
Right,
that I've
right.
seen, and that's just from my own experience seeing that happen. But
So what was your like experience? I mean, you ran Skatelab for, what did you say,
21 years.
21 years.
from 1997 until I left in 2018.
Now, you said you did have a partner, but kind of nobody knows about this partner, right? He was kind of like a
Behind the scenes
guy. Like you were the face of Skatelab.
Yeah. I mean, people know me from Skatelab more than they do from Hall of Fame.
For sure.
Just because I interacted with so many people over the years, and we did good stuff. Like, you know, like we had great demos. Like every pro skater went through there at some point. Every one of them. I remember when Shane O'Neill had just come to, I think he was staying with P-Rod, and he was under 18, and they were really worried about being able to get him in because he was under 18 and he was from Australia. And I let it go. And they fucking loved me so much after that because I wasn't a dick. But there were times when I used to fight P-Rod because we had to make you wear a helmet. He wasn't a pro. He was just like 12, and they didn't want to wear a helmet. But I didn't have a choice. Like we had, you know, I had another guy who put up the money, and I really felt a responsibility to make sure that we were able to survive.
Sure.
But I remember P-Rod, they used to get so angry at me for the helmet. So he finally got, Chet Thomas had this company called Capix, and it looked like a fucking baseball helmet. And you could wear them back. Do you remember those? It was like the least lame helmet you could wear. Yeah. And somebody finally hooked him up with one of those, and it was doable. You know, it was doable. And there used to be some really fun times between Spanky and Scuba and I remember for a while PJ Ladd was it, Dana Body. There was this guy they called Pink, Matt Miracle was his name. And I remember there was a time when PJ Ladd was living at Scuba's house, and I didn't know who it was, and he was at the end where everyone set up boards, and he wasn't saying anything, and I didn't know anything about him. I'm like, what's your deal, man? How come you're so quiet? I was so overwhelming to this guy, who I found out later was like an introvert, and he just didn't know how to deal with me. And it wasn't disrespectful. I was just like, what's your deal, man? You're not saying much, you know? And there was just a lot of weird, not weird, cool times like that where people came through. And another thing that we used to do that was cool was when the TV show Jackass came out, they were going to Skate Street, but since it was really religious, they were very strict with those guys. They couldn't cuss or whatever. And I remember we let them take a poop off one of our ramps one time, and like they never went back to Skate Street again.
I'm sure.
As long as they cleaned up everything or didn't, if broke something, they fixed it. We were really cool about it. And so that helped us a lot. We were in a couple of the Jackass movies.
I was going to say, that's great.
It was good. And just being more flexible. And my whole attitude's always been like, as long as you fix it, you know what I mean? Like we did a lot of filming and movie shoots there and stuff.
Dude, you get some crazy movie shoots there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there was a few porns we did there, which I didn't. And I'll tell you, that was a really big mistake because there was a time when I had Skatelab clothing in like 3,300 Walmart stores.
What?
And there was a time from like 2007 to 2014, I was selling Skatelab in Walmart.
What?
And I was killing it, but I was so afraid that they were gonna find out that I'd done a couple pornos in there. And it was really hard.
Todd, what do you got? How are you even coming? Why did you even agree to that?
The pornos?
Yeah.
It was fun. They were skaters. Steve Van Esco, like he, it wasn't his porn, but he was. Somebody talked me into it.
Okay.
One of our local skaters was going to be in it or something. It was called Skate Tricks.
I hope you got paid for that.
For that one, we didn't get paid. There was another one that we did. It was called Teach Me. I don't think it ever got released, but they paid us like $3,000 for that one. It wasn't worth the money,
right?
Because it was like the skeleton in my closet. Now I'm stoked to be able to talk about it. It's funny now, but back then I was really nervous that I had that in my back pocket because I was making good money by having clothing in Walmart. And the agent that was helping me, I told her, I said, hey, I just got to be honest with you. We filmed a couple pornos in there. And I just want to make sure if that gets out, it could end our Walmart business. She goes, don't say anything. Just keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything. And it never did come out. Eventually, it ran its course with Walmart. And so it's a whole nother story. But we did kill it. There was one time I got like a $40,000 royalty check.
How did you even get into Walmart? How do Skatelab? Here's this weird, not weird, but like this.
No, there's a story behind it. There was a lady who came in one day, and her kid was a young kid. He wanted to skate, and he had gone to like the Burbank skate park, and he hurt himself, and she came in to skate, and she wanted to buy pads, and she said, yeah, I went to Walmart or I went to Target, and all they had was like Barbie and Spider-Man, and she came to me and said, would you ever be interested in bringing like a real brand to, not even at the time it wasn't Walmart, because we started in Macy's. And we started in Macy's, and I don't know, there's a guy, he worked for me for a long time named Brian Score, and there was a picture of him doing like this ollie off these stairs, and they kind of made it abstract, and it said urban edge or something, and it was in Macy's, and we did really good. And so we started in Macy's, and we did good in there, and then we moved to Target. And then there was one shirt that I sold 900,000 shirts, and it was what? And it was so lame. And I at first said no, like I had like approval on all the shirts.
Wait, is this a shirt?
That's one of them. That's not the lame. That's Walmart though. Look, we had hats, but there was a shirt that said, and it was a total ripoff. I don't even know who did that. It said "Skate and Destroy," and it had a circle of skateboards around it. And I said, really? I said, she goes, just let it go. And it was in Target. And we sold 900,000 shirts in one season. What? But what happened was Shaun White got picked up by Target. And so they booted us for Shaun White.
No.
And then we went to JCPenney. And we were in JCPenney. But then JCPenney booted us because they picked up Ryan Sheckler. There was Sheckler. And Kohl's had Hawk. So Walmart was
Circuit City's the only one left.
Yeah, basically. So then Walmart wanted to be...
Or Goodwill.
Walmart needed something because Target and JCPenney had Shaun White and Sheckler. So the guy from Walmart was a fan because of Jackass. He was a young guy. And I had to go to Bentonville, Arkansas. And the guy's like, hey, I love the Jackass. And I had to talk my boss into this, you know? And so they started like a 5-store test, like in their area, and it did really good. And then they said, we're going to do a 50-store test. And they let me pick the stores. And I was like, okay, Las Vegas is a good one. Portland's, I was trying to think of where there were skaters.
Sure.
Houston, like I was trying to stay out of like middle America. Just, I felt like it would have been better like in California, like Porter Ranch, Simi Valley, around my area. And I remember going to Las Vegas, and I went to every single Walmart and bought every single shirt. They were $6. And just so the test did good.
Okay.
And I brought them back to my store at Skatelab and sold them for like $24.95 because nobody knew they were in Walmart yet. And the test went incredible. And I remember going to the magic show in Las Vegas. It was a great idea. And I bought all the ones in Simi and all the ones in Porter Ranch. My whole store was full of them. And people liked the design. Some of them were really lame. They were really lame. And I realized sometimes what I thought was really lame, it didn't matter. As long as the trucks went on backwards, that was kind of my job, just to make sure the trucks went on backwards. I didn't really veto too many designs because I had good luck with these lame designs.
And let me ask you a question. Are you just kind of, is Walmart, or who was the last one you were at? Kohl's? What was
No, we ended in Walmart.
Walmart. Okay. Yeah. Is Walmart making the stuff?
No, it was a company called Jim, and they already made the shirts that said, I do my own stunts. Or what? So it was.
So you just found. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
you just
this
found.
lady did.
Oh, the lady found the
her
play.
name is Melissa
So
Siegel.
they would produce them. They get the graphics, and then
they had an in-house graphic guy.
Okay, then
they'd say, "Hey,
sold them.
here's the new season. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of this?" And I would give whatever it was, that trucks on backwards or whatever. But I didn't really change too much because they knew it sold in Walmart, and they were used to doing. I found there's a difference between a property and a brand. And a property was, at the time, what was the movie where everyone was like blue people? It's like an Avatar.
Oh yeah.
So this company that made my shirts had just got done doing Avatar, and their strategy with a property like Avatar was sell as many as you can because it's going to be going away soon.
Yeah, get in and get out.
That was where I fucked up not knowing that, because they did the same thing with Skatelab. They had it on this automatic order. So like every month they'd get another shipment, every month another shipment. And then next thing you know, the Walmart had this giant rack with like clearance, and there was all my shit because this company didn't treat it like a brand. And I didn't have the wherewithal or the knowledge to know that it was different than Avatar. It wasn't going to just go away. We wanted to expand it, and eventually we did. Like that picture you showed, the top of it was a rack that held hats. Yeah. We had backpacks, we had shoes, we had bedding. Crazy. I remember Wee Man bought our bedding for his spare bedroom. He was so proud of it.
Wait, what year was this?
2007 through 2014.
Wow,
7 years.
It was a long time.
That's
it's a long time. And what happened eventually was.
Did you roll up in a Rolls Royce?
No, we didn't make that much money. One I had to split it with my partner, which was hard to do because I did all of it. Like I probably went to Arkansas 10 times. When I had to go to Minneapolis, I went to New York City, I went to Nashville. We tried to get our shoes in Journeys. They were in Nashville. I did a lot of work, but I shared it with my partner because he helped me.
Sure,
He shared it with me.
Well, you were partners.
And so we did. So because of that, I didn't make millions, and I also had to share it with this lady Melissa, I still work with her now.
So you made some good money.
Yeah, there was one quarter where I made like $37,500.
Yeah, I love that.
And I was like, wow, like this is real.
Is this one of the designs?
It sucked when it ended. Yeah, it was a terrible design.
God.
Did a lot of that money go into the skate park?
Yeah, well, like we did a whole course rebuild. There was
did.
there was a time when we cleared everything out but the bowl, and we rebuilt the whole park with money from Walmart. It was like 70 grand that we spent.
Wow.
So we weren't. I'm not like a flashy guy. Like I'd have a Vespa, a crappy van, and my partner wasn't either. Like he didn't really need the money, so we weren't like trying to like get Rolexes or whatever. Like I didn't really know how to deal with it. I just didn't want it to end because I was proud, even though it was Walmart, which is pretty low budge, but I was pretty stoked that I could tell people to go Walmart and buy my shirts.
I had no idea that Skatelab stuff was in Walmart or Target or any of these things.
Also, we were international.
That's
we had a
crazy.
distributor in Australia. We had a distributor in France. We had.
Do you know nowadays, though, I'm sorry to interrupt, that's like anybody's dream come true now, you know?
It was mine back then.
But you didn't even see that coming, though. That's the
That's
crazy
the thing, yeah.
No, and the lady, she's really smart. She really knew the right moves to make.
Sure.
She and I still work with her now. What happened was she got hired by Jim Henson Company. So she was her own, and then
Muppets?
So they don't own the Muppets anymore.
Oh.
They sold it, but they hired her to do what she did for us with their, and they had like Fraggle Rock and their show called Sid the Science Kid and Fuggle. They had like 5 other less popular brands that they still owned, and their studio was right on Fairfax. It was like Charlie Chaplin's old studio. But once they hired her, she kind of had to give us a little less attention, and couple that with the Walmart debacle where they got too much. My partner, he had a sports agent. They were called the Wasserman Group.
Oh, yeah.
Was his sports agent, and he's like, hey, let's cut her loose and let's hire this guy. Steve Astevan was his name. He was like Sheckler's agent. He was Torey's agent. And we went to meet with him, and he was so, I was going to say confident, but cocky. Almost to like, I'll go to New York City. I'll go for this corner. I'll go, he was basically like, in one weekend, I will get this shit everywhere. And, but you got to pay me. It was like 10 grand a month. We had to pay him like a retainer. This other lady, she didn't get paid. She was on commission. So if she didn't make a sale, she got 0. This guy, we were paying 10 grand a month, and he got us $0.
I was about to say, was it worth it?
No, it was a fucking bummer. We got $0, and it failed, and we never sold another shirt again outside of our place. And I don't want to say I was angry at my partner because it wasn't his fault, but the lady was way better.
Right.
She was just better, and I don't know this Steven guy, but I do know he didn't write us one fucking order. And we spent $120,000.
Wow.
And he got us nothing in return. And I don't want to slander the guy. I mean, I don't know.
It is
Maybe
what it
shouldn't
is.
say that, but he couldn't sit here and tell me anything different,
Yeah.
So it was a bummer. So that was kind of the end of my run in Walmart. And I also learned that once you fail in Walmart, like you mentioned Goodwill, there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
You can't go to
Ross.
Dollar Tree. There's nowhere
Yeah.
else to go.
Yeah.
So we started, it was fun I forgot about it myself till we started talking today, but it was fun to go from Macy's, because I remember going to Macy's and buying the shirt for Brian Score. Brian, you're in Macy's, dude. And then I remember going to JCPenney. I remember in Target. It was a fun experience to see my stuff in those stores.
That's amazing.
And then I'd see people, there was a fire in Fresno or something. They're interviewing the lady and her kid, and the kid was standing there with the Skatelab shirt. I was like, yeah, look at that shit. Like, it was cool. It was cool.
That's super rad, but especially because like core brands are not in those doors, right?
Right.
So just from that simple fact that you were able to get in there,
Yeah, we weren't core. We
No.
didn't care. I wasn't trying to be core.
No,
I just
of
wanted to make
course,
money,
of course not.
Like,
But if,
Well,
I
there was
think
no
I don't
skate companies in general in any way, right? That was the only thing they had.
Sean White and the Sheckler, those, and the Hawk, Coles had Hawk. They were skate companies too, but it wasn't like a company you'd heard of.
It wasn't
you
like,
know?
yeah.
Element or whatever.
right.
You
like
know?
I wonder if
core.
any of like core brands had those opportunities, would they have taken it?
I don't know. Probably not,
Right.
because a lot of people looked at that as a death sentence for your core customers.
Right.
But I looked at it as just extending your
But you
reach.
were in a different lane, though.
Totally.
You were a skate park in Simi Valley. You weren't you weren't.
We didn't have pro team. or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, exactly. You're not trying to sell to every skate shop
It was,
in the
it was
in the
beneficial
country.
for us.
Yeah,
And
that was super cool.
one of the things Walmart hated about us was we didn't have any budget. They didn't know us. They expected us to like be running TV commercials and stuff. So eventually we created like this fund where of our royalties, we'd put aside like 2% for advertising. You know, I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So I always, and I think you're the one that told me, my motto is always take the meeting.
Yeah.
And after I hung up, my motto is similar, but my motto is I always say yes until it's time to say no. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm always, yeah, let's do it. Nah, that's lame. We're done. That's sort of how I do it. It's kind of my version of always take the meeting. You know?
Always take the meeting, dude.
Yeah, so I just say yes till it's time to say no. And
When you were okay, so we were talking about Skatelab, and Skatelab ended
2019.
2019, and you had like the majority of your stuff in Skatelab, kind of displayed like as a kind of a quote unquote little museum, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that little. Like people knew it. We were
Yeah.
legendary.
People would come to go to
Yeah.
just to see the.
We do the museum. We did
Right.
those old school skate jams where
Yes.
we were. I mean, one thing that I noticed was that the way the museum kind of started to be more than just a collection in my garage was there's a guy named Bruce Logan. He was like the first world champion in the '70s. He was the shit, right? He was like,
Logan Ersky.
yes, Logan Ersky. He and Tony Alva used to ride for him. You know what I mean? Because Tony Alva used to ride for Logan, but he was the shit. But I heard he was homeless, and I thought, fuck, how is Bruce Logan, the dude, my rock star, homeless? You know, and that's what really made me want to celebrate those dudes. Like everybody should know about Bruce Logan. Yeah, it's Tony Alva right there. I think. Yeah.
This is Bruce Logan.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay, Bruce Logan. So he always had a big fro. And he just was at the museum. He's a really, I'm friend. He's no longer homeless.
Okay.
And he's a really nice guy. And I've connected with his whole family because there's 4 Logans, Bruce, Brad, Brian, and Robin. And they were the biggest team of the 70s. And when the internet first started, I bought LoganErsky.com because I loved it. It was my favorite team. And one day I got a call. He's like, "This is Bruce Logan. What the fuck you doing? You stole our website. Bruce Logan, this." And I was like, whoa. I just didn't want anyone else to get it. I'm a fan, dude. You know, so I gave it to them. And ever since then, I've been, they really, I'm friends with them.
Yeah.
They respect it because I wasn't trying to rip them off or make shirts or anything. I just wanted to make sure some kook didn't end up with it.
Sure.
And now if you go to LoganErsky.com, it's their family history.
I love that.
And Robin, the sister, she's brought it back. She has a killer team, ripping team of new kids today.
Wow.
And so I'm super proud to call those guys my friends, you know. Just we did a fundraiser at the museum in 2023 called Lunch with the Logans, and we had them all 4 together, and we invited anyone that wanted to have lunch with them to come hang out, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
What were you saying about it inspired you because you were home? You were like, how's my hero homeless?
Yeah, like why don't people know? He should be on a billboard,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
whatever. Like
yeah.
he shouldn't be like living in the bushes, you know.
Right.
And there, I don't know the whole story, but I think he got hit on a bicycle and he got some type of a settlement. And I think that's what helped him become non-homeless.
Okay.
But regardless of the homeless aspect, even if he wasn't homeless, he wasn't being recognized or lifted up. And he should have been.
Sure.
Because in the 70s, he was a rock star, like literally. There he is. And he deserved better.
Right.
He deserved better. And I just realized there was no Hall of Fame for skateboarding. And before I had Skatelab and I decided I was going to build the Hall of Fame, I told myself, I'm going to call Tony Hawk, like cold call Tony Hawk, Tony Alva, and Jake Phelps. And if any of those 3 tell me, don't do it, that's a lame idea, I'm just going to stop.
Okay.
And I remember Jake Phelps was like, yeah, whatever, you think you're going to be able to pull that off? He goes, I'm down. He goes, I want to have something beyond me that tells the story of skateboarding.
Sure.
Good luck. And I went to that was a long time before Skatelab, and they all said, yeah, go for it. If you think you can, go for it. Good luck to you. I went to this universal contest like in 96 or 97 with flyers saying coming soon, the America's newest skate park and the Skateboarding Hall of Fame. And I walked up to Jake Phelps and I said, hey Jake, I'm opening a skate park. And this is like standing like next to the ramp. There was a huge vert contest. And he took the flyer and literally right in front of me, crumbled it up and dropped it and walked away. and he walked away. Yeah. I was like, oh, fuck. I go, Jake, that was pretty disrespectful, pretty rude. You know, he goes, you know how many fucking people told me they're going to open a skate park? Just let me know when it's done, you know?
Okay.
And so I was like, well, okay. But that didn't discourage us. But that's how it started. And then I went to Florida and I was driving like from Orlando to Jacksonville, and I could see in the distance this giant warehouse that said it was the Water Ski Hall of Fame. I thought, what? How the fuck? how does I was pretty ignorant to not know that water ski had a huge history and it was a big sport. But
I have no idea.
I didn't either. I remember being angry. Like,
right.
How the fuck does water ski?
Are we talking about the one with they're on skis and they were behind a boat?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They have a Hall of Fame.
Just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. They had a giant building, huge warehouse, Hall of Fame off the freeway, and I thought. That's we're getting burned, so I instantly, and that was like probably 97. But then I registered all the intellectual property. I got I noticed that there was a guy named David Hackett, who's our MC. Yeah. When I went to register the trademark, I saw that somebody had registered it. It was called the Skateboard Hall of Fame, not skateboarding, and it was dead. Like it was dead. But Hackett was also a collector, and I bumped into him at the Rose Bowl swap meet. He saw I had a skateboard, and we got to talking, and I said, I want to open the Skateboarding Hall of Fame. He goes, that was my idea. And I said, well, are you going to be angry if I do it? He goes, no, I couldn't do it. I gave up. It was just too much.
Right.
So I kind of got his blessing, but I can't take the credit because even though I said I was going to start it, I didn't realize somebody had already had that idea, but they gave up on it, which was Hackett.
Sure.
And now he's in the Hall of Fame himself. He was our MC last year. And so
Dave Hackett he lived in the neighborhood I grew up in.
Yeah, Ocean Mesa or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a trippy guy.
He's a great guy.
Trippy. I use the word trippy, but I'll say great too. I say trippy because when I met him at the Rose Bowl, he said, why don't you give me your number? I was like, okay. So I gave him my number, and he called me one day. He's like, hey, I'm at home. Why don't you come over to my house? And he lived off of Montana. I got there. It was this fucking mansion. I found out later he was living with Jack Nicholson's daughter.
Okay.
And I didn't know that. Jennifer Nicholson was her name. And I knocked on the door, and he answered in a robe with a cigar. Like literally, like at 3 PM, he's had a big cigar and he's in a robe. He goes, hey, I'm just wrapping up my massage. He goes, pull around back. Bring your truck around back. And I was like, okay. So I brought it around back, and he opened the garage, and he had an old refrigerator box full of all his skateboards. And he just started putting shit in my truck. I didn't even know him. Wow. I'd only met him one time, and he donated like 50 of his personal boards.
Wow.
And I didn't have a museum. I didn't even have Skatelab. I was just a collector.
And when you were saying you were going around asking people about the Skateboarding Hall of Fame and talking to Dave Hackett and everything, this was before Skatelab even existed.
Before.
You already had this idea
before Skatelab
because you already had a collection in your garage. So you were like, hey, I need to get somewhere.
Since '89, I had.
And then fast forward, Skatelab happens. Now you're starting to display all your stuff. And
it was one of the gimmicks that we used at Skatelab.
Sure.
Skate Street just opened, and their gimmicks were murals. The dude's mom was an artist, so they put all these cityscape murals. I'm like, that's your gimmick. Our gimmick's going to be the Skateboard Museum. And there's a Thrasher from like right after we opened Thrasher came Mike Burnett. First time I met him, he came to cover our grand opening. There's a contents Thrasher with our whole museum. And they did a whole article. It was called Sliding Into Home because my partner was on baseball. Okay. And I remember meeting Burnett that night, in 97, right after we opened. So the museum wasn't an afterthought, but I didn't register all the domains and everything to the Hall of Fame to like 2000.
Okay.
It was just I put it on the flyer that we want to build it, but I got the domain and the trademark in 2000, but it really was just an idea, and I didn't really have the wherewithal to create a true Hall of Fame where we inducted people, and it wasn't until 2009 there was this organization called IASK. I don't know if you remember that, International Association of Skateboard Companies. And they were the most well-respected people in the industry at the time. Bod Boyle, Don Brown, Steve Van Dorn, Jim Gray, Jim Fitzpatrick, George Powell. And I remember going to speak at one of their meetings because they put out this booklet on how to get a skate park in your town. And they didn't mention private skate parks. And I remember saying, hey guys, you should also offer the option, because in our town, because before Skatelab opened, I went to my city hall and I asked them if they would consider building a skate park. And they said no. And then I went to the YMCA because there was one in Carlsbad. I was like, hey, the YMCA in town, I'm going to go ask the guy at the YMCA. And he goes, oh no, we're building a roller hockey arena. I'm like, oh fuck. So I kind of tried to do it. So I ended up doing it privately.
Gotcha.
And I was angry that they didn't offer that as an option to the kids, because Tampa was open. There was one in Atlanta called Progressive. There was one in Philadelphia called like Cheapskates. There was Southside in Texas and Third Lair. There was like 5 or 6 skate parks. Sure. And I remember going before the board saying, guys, you should consider it. And they did it. They were really nice. And I really connected with those guys. And then they had the idea themselves to do a Hall of Fame, but they didn't know that I owned it all.
Right.
And they just started. They were going to do it as this Hall of Fame event. They're going to pick the Hall of Famers.
Wait,
and
who was?
IASK.
Oh, yes. Okay. So-
And they were going to make it a fundraising event. And eventually, when they got further, they realized, hey, somebody else already had this idea. We better call them before it gets too long. And at first, I was sort of angry because I owned Skateboarding Hall of Fame, and they registered the Skateboarding Hall of Fame. They did a couple funky things, and I had to hire an attorney because I wanted to do the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It was in my brain, and my attorney said, "Hey, let them build this for you. Let's make a licensing agreement where they license the name for that night. You're not doing it anyway, so they're the smartest people in skateboarding. They want to do it." You're just a fan. These guys lived it. Let them build it for you and work with them. And so we put together like a licensing deal. This guy his name was John Bernards. He was the director of IASK, and we just started going from there. And then the first ceremony was in 2009, and it was at the Vans skate park. And Vans has been behind every single ceremony we've ever done.
I love that.
Since 2009, the first one was in their skate park. And Steve Van Doren, he's always been into it. Every year, they've never not once said, we can't find the money, sorry, we're not going to do it this year. And we're getting ready to do our next one, which is coming up in the 30th of next month. And it's going to be at the Vans headquarters.
May 30th.
May 30th.
Yeah.
And last year we had 700 people.
Damn.
And and even though IASK, so I worked with IASK until they ended. And so it was John Bernards, and then they hired this guy, Josh Freeberg. You remember Josh?
Oh, yeah.
He was one of the starters of 411. And he was a smart guy, but he did a couple things that were funky. Like at the time I didn't have a Facebook page, and he went and made a Skateboarding Hall of Fame Facebook page. And I was so pissed because he didn't talk to me about it. So I called Facebook and I showed him that I owned the trademark, and they shut it down, and he was so pissed. And I'm all, dude, we have to.
Why didn't you just ask him though?
I was just pissed. I was just pissed at him because he shouldn't have done it.
He should have spoke to you first.
Yeah, and we had an agreement, and the agreement that we had was you produced this one night event.
Oh.
If you want to do it, he should have asked me first. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to let them know that I own it and take it over. And it was kind of a bummer. He was so mad at me after that happened. And I apologize. Like you said, I probably should have just called him first and dealt with it. This whole thing's been a really good learning business experience for me.
Right.
And then he did a great job for 4 or 5 years, and then he went on to do something else. I don't even know what it was. Oh, he went on to run Street League.
He did the USA skateboarding stuff too.
Yeah, well, he went from Street League. He did Street League for a minute, then he went on to USA Skateboarding, and now something happened there where him and the guy that got pushed out or something. And then it became this guy, Thomas Barker. I don't know if you guys know Thomas Barker. He's a really cool guy, younger. So it was a trip to work with younger, meaning I was, if I was 35, he was 20, or if I was whatever, he was 10 or 15 years younger. But he listened to me, and like we were able to talk about it, and he did a great job. He did a great job too. And then once he went away, they hired Mark Waters, and Mark Waters was the best thing that ever happened to the Hall of Fame, and it was the worst thing that ever happened when he died, because he was so passionate about it. And like I told you, I'm not a spreadsheet guy. He was the fucking spreadsheet master. And he did such a good job because people always wanted to ask, how do you get in the Hall of Fame? How come so-and-so's not in the Hall of Fame? And he went and he did this criteria. It answered every question. He just shut down every critic. Yeah. And he basically put out this list that said, yes, maybe, or no. And he had like everybody that ever touched a skateboard, it was ever in any movie, that ever had any write-up in an article, was on the list. You just have to mark Y, in, or maybe.
Okay.
And he gave it to all the people that were in the Hall of Fame already. Olsen, Laura, like all the people, Lance. And we went through and said, no, maybe, yes. And so he instantly took all the no's and said, they're never getting in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
He took all the maybes and said maybe, and he put all the yeses over here. And then he did it in a really good way.
Wait, so who did you ask though? Anyone that was in it already?
Yeah, like previous inductees.
Okay.
People that knew, like Steve Olsen, for example. Just people that anybody that had an interest, that wanted to keep the level high.
And also had a stamp in skateboarding already.
Yeah, it meant something. It wasn't just anybody. And it took a long time for us to really figure out the process of figuring out who's going to go into the Hall of Fame. And a lot of times people come to, I'm always the guy that gets, that hears it. And I remember Lance told me one time, just have them call me. I'm like, dude, no one's going to call you and complain about it. They always call me. They always call me. And it's kind of a drag because we're not trying to slight anybody, and we can't let everybody in there. And there was one year when, and it took me a while to really sort of take the leadership role. I would always leave it up to like Josh Freeberg. And there was one year when he decided we're going to just stick with the vote. Whoever gets the most vote is getting in. Mm-hmm. And that was a mistake. And because you were able to campaign the vote. Yeah. And it was like, it didn't make sense. And so there was one year, I don't know the exact year, I'd rather not mention because I don't want anyone in there that year to think that they shouldn't be in there. But there were people that were angry. Mm. There were people that were angry because they felt like it lowered the level of the quality of the people in there. And we just learned a lot. And people, even last year, I had some guy saying, you owe me transparency. And I remember saying, I don't owe you shit. I don't have to be, this isn't the government. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, and I was reading about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they said that they were really proud of being non-transparent. Uh-huh. They were really proud that you didn't know how they selected somebody.
Well, it's like Thrasher Skate of the Year, right? Like,
yeah. You can vote, but that's not who's getting in. Ultimately it's up to probably Burnett or whatever, you know. Like they just use that as promotion, I think, but it does get the public involved.
Sure.
And so this year we're going to bring the voting back, so Mark Waters, he noticed that when we would do a vote, and if you came in second place, whoever came in first place got in. That means next year, whoever came in second place was going to be first place. And whoever came in third place, the third year, was going to be first place.
But you just said that people can campaign and do all this stuff, and it was a bad idea.
The first time, we eliminated the campaigning, and then we started inviting you to vote. And we just eliminated, we eliminated to where you had one vote, and you had to attach to your email. But we didn't use the vote as the end all to end all. Okay. But what we did was Mark created this 5-year plan, and we basically knew for 5 years who was going to get in because the guy that got 5th place that year in 5 years was going to get first place. Okay. So for like the last 4 or 5 years, we didn't vote. And next year we're going to go back to the vote. Oh. But I'll give Lucero and Lance. They wouldn't disagree. I think they consider themselves skate nerds. You know, skate nerds, and. Lucero, they were really smart because they started noticing that like one dude would get in from Florida in 1 year, but next year another guy from Florida would get in. So they're like, hey, we should craft it a little bit so you can enjoy it with your buddies. So like 1 year we did like Northern California, and like all the dudes that were going to get in from Northern California over the next 4 years got in 1 year.
Oh, interesting.
And that way it was like all the NorCal guys were up there together that night.
That's awesome.
It was a better way to do it.
Yeah.
And that way they didn't have to wait, you know, am I going to get in, whatever. Right. And like this year, for example, it's the Hawaii guys. Because there was a lot of incredible skaters from Hawaii that kind of always would get overlooked, you know? And so this year we kind of have a Hawaii contingent. Okay. Darren Ho, Larry Bertelman, who people think of as a surfer, but he invented the Bertelman, like was ripping skateboarder, you know? Like, I don't know. It's just Jamie Reyes, who's a female skater.
Yeah,
she's Hawaiian too, and so like she's on the ladies list this year. And it's the ladies is a whole nother topic because people. The first year there were no ladies. It was just 4 people: Bruce Logan, who ended up being the first inductee; Tony Alva, Tony Hawk, and Danny Way. That was the first year. The second year, all these people were up my ass because there was no women, and that those first 4 weren't chosen by me; they were chosen by IASK. Before they realized I had already done it. They had already told the people they were getting in. So I didn't have a say in it. Oh. The second year, I demanded we had to have at least one woman. And it was Patty McGee, who just passed away. Yep. And then the next year we had Peggy Oakey and Laura Thornhill and Wendy Bear. And there's 33 ladies in the Hall of Fame. And it's still a really disproportionate number, but it's just a reflection on history. It's not my fault that there was one lady for 200 dudes at the skate park. Sure. You know, and people wanted it for a while. You got to match it. Just not possible.
Right.
Well, just not possible.
How do you choose how many people get in each year?
That's also controversial. We don't know. It's not a set number. So the first year it was 4. There was 1 year where we had like 26. we tried to sort of fast track it a little bit because people were dying. And like Tom Sims is a good example. He died shortly before the ceremony. And it was a drag that he didn't get to be there. And it doesn't even know he's in the Hall of Fame, you know? So there's not a set number. That's another thing Lucero really fought for, because we get pushback a lot of times from, like, I'll just say from the people at Vans, because the more people it is, the bigger production it is, the more trophies we need, the more videos Buddy has to create. So they always say we can't have as many. And this year Lucero got up on the Zoom call. He said, "Look, guys, the number shouldn't affect us at all. If they're getting in, they're getting in. It doesn't matter. If I have to buy the trophies myself, we're not going to like trim it because of money." If we, and Lance would always say that too. Lance was like, "Hey, if I have to start a GoFundMe to make 5 more trophies to recognize these people that deserve it," they just didn't want that to be a thing. But on the other hand, if you have too many people, like during COVID, for example, we had to cancel the ceremony. So the next year we had a double ceremony with like 34 people, and it was really brutal. It was great, but it was hard to have that many people, and it also watered it down for the people. You know what I mean? If there's 30 people, it's kind of hard to be like, you know,
well, 30 people got to get up there and talk and have a speech and everything.
Do they have to make videos for all those people?
Yeah, we make a video.
See, that's a lot.
Yeah, put the headphones. Do it. Yeah.
Each video is, you know, not cheap either, because we can't expect Buddy to work for free. He does such a good job, and it's really hard to compile all the images, old ads, magazine covers, interviews. It's a lot of work, and he's really good at it. And we kind of traded the videos for speeches. We noticed that one thing was people had a hard time editing themselves. Once they had the mic, they just went on and on and on and list, and it just made for a really long night.
You got to get the playoff music.
Super hard to do.
Yeah.
And there was
Starts doing it all loud.
or the hook, right?
But when get out of here.
Well, we always would have the MC would always claim they were going to do it,
right?
But when like last year, Jesse Martinez, nobody knew if he was going to show up or not. When he showed up, he got up there and started telling his story,
right?
And it was beautiful. It was fucking beautiful. And if you would have cut that off, you would have really done a disservice to skateboarding,
right?
Because you can go back and watch his speech now, and he talks about how it saved his life and how it got him out of the house, and like he was kind of the only guy that gave a speech, and thank God he did, because no one even thought he was going to show up, because he's a really mellow dude. And I take it back. He's not necessarily a mellow dude. He's just a quiet. He's not a boisterous guy.
Yeah, he stays to himself.
He stays to himself, and when he got up there, it was sweet. You know, like, for lack of a better term, it was really. I learned a lot. You know, I learned a lot. I've learned one thing as a fan. I never expected it. I've learned so much about skateboarding and people. And just now, I was on my way to Brussels for that show, and I got a text from Rocco. It was so fucking random, because on the airplane you could get text messages.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap! I just got a text from Rocco. It was long. It was like a long text, and it was a really cool text, because we just did this event called Lunch with the Ladies, where we invited all the ladies to come have lunch at the museum as a fundraiser. And he'd seen the pictures, and we inducted this woman named Anita Tessenson last year, and she was on Powell, which was the rival of World Industries. But he wrote me a letter, and he said, "Hey, Todd, I just saw your Lunch with the Ladies, which I want to commend you for, because they really need more." You know, they get the short end of the stick. But I saw the pictures of Anita, and she was our first employee. When me and Rodney started, she was our very first employee. And when I saw the pictures, all these memories came back, and I want to reach out to her and tell her thanks for being there in the beginning. And I said, "Are you sure it wasn't Seisha?" Because another girl, Seisha, rode for World.
That's right.
And Anita rode for Powell. And I said, and they were rivals. And I said, "You sure you don't mean Seisha Clark?" And he said, "No, it was Anita." And then I reached out to Anita, and I said, "Hey, Rocco just sent me this text. He wants you to reach out." And she's like, "Oh my God, that's so cool. I broke my leg on my skating to work one day there, and I never skated again after that." You know, it was a trip to get a text from Rocco talking about how he appreciated that we appreciated the women pioneers. And, and I just want to say, the reason that I did that thing, the Lunch with the Ladies, was I noticed that, and this isn't a slight on the dudes, but the ladies, they really seem to own it more. And I just think it was harder for them, because there's 30 ladies and 200 dudes. They really had a hard time rising to the top. And so when they got their trophy and they got on the Hall of Fame, a lot of them made it their profile picture on Instagram. Or I'd go to Patty McGee, I'd go to a book signing. She always had the trophy sitting on her table. They just really, their energy was good. And I thought, you know, I really want to let them talk about it and share.
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't get to give speeches. So at the lunch with the ladies, we handed the mic and said, tell us your story.
Sure.
And it was cool, man. It was cool.
great.
And I learned so much. It's like, I never would have known that Anita worked for Rocco, you know? And it was cool to have Rocco. He kind of comes across as this tough guy. He's really nice. He's a really sweet guy. And
Right.
like, I don't know. I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky. I swear. I'm just lucky because everyone looks at me as kind of the neutral guy. Like I don't think I've really angered that many people. So most people I think I'm pretty approachable, or they'll talk to me about that stuff. So,
well, you do a lot of stuff for, like, you do like the lunch with the ladies. You do a lot of stuff for skateboarding. The Skateboarding Hall of Fame has been going on, did you say since 2009?
yeah, the first ceremony was in 2009 at the Vans skate park.
Van Skate Park. And then when I really want to get into you know, wrapping up kind of Skatelab
Yeah.
and finding a new place, a new home for like the museum, because
Yeah,
I
it
know
was-
that was a big ordeal.
I mean, yeah, it was a big ordeal because I was out of a job and I had a consistent job for 21 years. My wife worked there too. So we both left together and all my shit was in storage. And my former partner said, hey, and there's kind of a funny story behind this. Like those boards I left behind. They were all, and if you ever went to Skateboard, the pro shop, the ceiling was all, like your board was hanging up in the ceiling. And like Fabian Alomar, remember that guy Fabian?
Yeah.
I had one of his boards signed, City Stars. And every time he'd get out of jail, he'd come to show somebody his board up on the roof, on the ceiling. But when I left Skatelab, my former partner said, hey, take your time getting your stuff out. It's not like we're going to change locks or anything. And I'd gotten everything out, and it was like my last day there, and I left. And I left all those boards, all the autographed boards I left.
Okay.
And 2 weeks later, I woke up like at 2 a.m. and I was like, fuck. I can't believe I left all those boards, because even though yours says to Skatelab or thanks Skatelab, a lot of them said to Todd. Like I have this one from Daniel Castillo, to Todd or whatever. They were personalized to me, and I left them behind. I was so mad. And I got up, my wife goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm going back to Skatelab. If they didn't change the locks and they didn't change the code to the alarm, I'm going in there right now. I'm getting all those boards. He told me to take your time, you know, and if he doesn't want me in there, he should have changed the locks. So I drove there at 2 a.m. Key worked. Okay, the key worked. Open up the alarm. You have like 30 seconds. Beep, beep. Didn't change the code. I'm in. Locked the door, turn on the lights. I fucking started taking all the boards down. And I was covered in dust. And like, I'd get like 10 or 12 and I'd load them in my van. And then like, eventually it was like 6 a.m. I saw the sun was coming up. I was like, fuck, I better get out of here, you know? So I pushed my luck. And there was one level that was higher that were the newer boards that I couldn't reach. So I left behind a bunch, but I got like 200 boards.
Wow.
Yeah, there's Donovan right there.
There's Donovan.
Yeah, and he ended up being a dick at the end. Like we ended up not remaining friends, because at the end, some of the guys sided with the other half. See, there's the boards. And see above his head?
Right.
And there's yours right there, right?
I see it.
I think that's yours
Oh,
right
yeah.
there. And so I took all those boards down. All those ones came down. And before I left, I vacuumed the whole place. I cleaned all that glass because I wanted to be respectful. And
I'm taking it that the business, like you just said, you didn't end
it didn't end good because
respectfully.
the other guy didn't want to tell everybody that his hopes were to sell the property. He wanted everyone to believe that it was somehow my fault.
Okay.
And it just wasn't true. It wasn't true. Like I'm still doing it. Like there was a couple months when I was competing with them. And so the way I got my new space was all my shit was into storage. Wasn't sure what I was going to do. This guy, my former partner, announces he's going to close it, which was kind of lame because he told me, if you leave, we'll keep it open because we won't have to pay you. But I think he didn't think I did anything. But basically, when he announced they were going to close, there was a story in the paper, and it said, Skatelab to close after 23 years due to falling out between owners. It was kind of and he said something in there about he didn't quit, he was fired. It was kind of a nasty ending. But the guy that runs the mall where I'm at the time, my dad was the mayor, and the
Your
guy
dad was the mayor of Simi Valley.
Yeah, for like 8 years, from like 2000
Okay.
for like 2010, which is another reason people tried to blame me. There was no free park. They somehow thought my dad was stopping it. My dad didn't know. He didn't give a shit about the park. He didn't care. He had nothing. But it helped me because my dad was really good at like suiting up and showing up. He'd always go to every ribbon cutting. He'd be there for any event. He was a really good mayor. He was really good at it, and the mall liked him because he was always supportive of the mall. So my brother is a roadie, and he was on tour in New York. And he asked me, would you go on tour? I got to drive from New York to Houston like in 2 days. So I need somebody to drive so we can drive 24 hours. So I was in New York City like at midnight, and my phone rang, and it was a guy from the mall. He's like, I'm reading this article in the paper. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do with Skatelab? I said, I don't know. He goes, I got a great space. Come look at it. And I said, no, I hate the mall. Like, our mall isn't very well supported. And I didn't want to go there. But I didn't realize how beautiful the spot was. He kept saying, I have Urban Home, which was a furniture store. And then when I got back, I went to look at it, and he goes, I won't even be there. I'll leave the door open. And I got there. I was like, wow, this is bitchin'. This is a beautiful place.
Nice
and
spot.
it was Urban Outfitters. And they went in and put all this beautiful brick and wood, and it's whole glass. It was a really nice, and it's right down the street from my house. And then the guy, he let me name my rent. And so
I would say $1.
well, I had to be, it had to be over 500.
Okay.
But and it was just over that.
501.
Yeah, sort of like that. But he said, I told him how much I was paying for I had 3 storage units. All my stuff was in storage.
Oh, okay.
And he said, I told him how much I was paying for the storage. He goes, will that work for your rent? And I just thought, fuck yeah, that's a no-brainer because I can't do business out of a storage unit.
Sure.
Here I can do business. And I wasn't even going to have a shop. And my mom said, hey, you're moving to a shopping mall. You should have a shop. And I thought, yeah, that's a great idea. I already know all the vendors. I've already worked with, NHS, Powell, Baker, whatever. I already knew all the reps. And so I opened a shop and a skate park too. And I asked the guy from the mall, can I put a little skate park in here? He goes, please do. I was like, oh, can I sell skateboards? Because I'm across from Vans. They had skateboards. Can I sell skateboards? He's like, please do. I was like, can I sell like snacks and drinks? And he said, please do. And I was like, fuck, this is a no-brainer. So I just moved in, and it was, I don't know, it was, I left Skatelab in October, and November 1st, I started moving in.
Wow.
That quick?
Yeah, like a month. And I was in Mexico. I only had 1 week off. I went to Mexico. And I remember the newspaper reporter called me for the interview of the I don't know, I had like 1 week off.
Yeah.
But when I came back, suddenly I was competing with Skatelab, which was a trip because I came up with the name Skatelab and I owned the name Skatelab. So on my sign, it said Skateboarding Hall of Fame, home of Skatelab U. So I tried to make it like more educational. Like you can do lessons. You can look at our library of skateboarding books. Because I owned my former partner, I think had forgotten that I owned the name Skatelab and I owned Hall of Fame. And he basically said, hey, that's, even though you own it on paper, I'm gonna sue you because you don't, it's ours. You know, whatever. Basically, I gave up the name Skatelab in order to keep the Hall of Fame name.
Yeah.
Because he, at that time, hadn't announced he was going to close.
Right.
And he was bummed that I had it on my sign.
I think you made the right choice, though.
Yeah, I
Skateboarding
did.
Hall of Fame, yeah.
I did. And it was hard to let Skatelab go because it was my life, and I'm really proud of it. I really am. No matter how it ended, even if my former partner was here now, I don't hold any hard feelings. And there's some more shady shit that was done to me that anybody would be really angry over. But there's really no point in really at this point being angry. It's beyond. It's gone now, and I'd be able to. It's the best thing that ever happened to me because at Skatelab I had like 9 to 12 employees, and inevitably somebody would call in sick, and I was always the guy that had to come from my day off, and it was hard. And now I have no employees. It's just me, and we're closed on Monday and Tuesday. So on Sunday I get to leave and I don't have to, I have a weekend. You know what I mean? And like I sleep so good at night just knowing that I have a space, all my stuff, it's beautiful. And so Skatelab, I always tell people it was a giant skate park with a little museum. Hall of Fame is a giant museum with a little skate park.
Yeah.
And so I've never stopped. I've never stopped. And me, I was sort of angry, but when I moved, I was in charge of the social media for Skatelab. So the first thing I did was change the phone number to my phone number. And it was amazing because as soon as they announced they were going to close, everybody started calling them and they were calling me. And I'm like, oh, no, we're just moved. I'm up here at the mall. We're going to close. And like, I remember Jesse still worked there and he was so mad. He's like, dude, you're killing me. People are so confused. And finally, I just gave it all back. I gave the domains back and all the social media back. And it's been hard because my former partner gave it to this guy that used to run our school. And I really helped him a lot over the years. I got him a lot of jobs in Hollywood, stunt doubles, helped him with lessons. He had his wedding in there. I was really good to this guy. And when my former partner said he was going to close, this guy panicked. and I did too. We all were panicked. It was part of our life. But he panicked in a way where he went and got my partner kind of against me. And so in our agreement, I don't have the name. My former partner doesn't have the name. He gave it to this other dude. And the other dude just botched it. I mean, he fucking botched it. He changed the website. It just, if you look at the website, it's so shitty.
Oh my
and it was
God.
beautiful. We had this killer website, and like, and when he changed it, he took away all the memories. You can't go back. I had every demo that we ever had, you know, for you know, and they're gone.
That would be amazing to look back. Those
It would
amazing
be.
demos there.
There were some. I remember we had one where it was an Element demo, and they said the first 50 people are going to get a free board. And I swear to God, there was 1,000 people. It was insane. It was the first time Muska had ever been there. And I had this video of Muska, "What's up, Skatelab? Yo, 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 finally made it here." It was so Muska, you know, and it was his pants rolled up, and it was fucking rad. And it's a bummer that people can't go look at that stuff now. But
So wait,
it's
you don't
okay.
have the raw tapes to?
Somewhere I do, because I have I had digital camera, and then I would fill up like a little thumb drive, and I had maybe like 20 or 30 thumb drives somewhere with all that shit. But I'm not to the point yet where I really want to, because that other dude owns it now. I just don't want to throw any love to him. You know, like I have a shoebox literally full of Skatelab stickers, and I really want to give them to the kids and stuff, but I really don't, because I don't want to help this guy who fucked
Well,
me
you're
over.
on a new chapter also.
Yeah, I am.
you
I am
know?
for sure. And when it came here, my wife said, "You think they're going to want to talk about Skatelab?" And I was like, "God, I sure hope so."
Yeah.
Because just like the pornos, I never got to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't want to burden myself. And
What about-
I laugh at it now.
So that dude, he still has it and he doesn't do anything with it?
Right. And what's funny was we made an agreement, because the reason he got it was they told everyone they were going to open a new Skatelab. And they said, a new era is about to begin. They told everybody, we're closing, but we're going to open a new one. And so I told this guy, okay, I'm going to sign over the name, but if you can't open a new Skatelab in a year, you have to give it back to me. And he's like, done. And my wife was there, and we did a handshake and everything. But when it came time to sign the papers, it wasn't in there. And I said, dude, I don't see, because it's a kind of a weird story, but Alex Midler's dad was an attorney, and he really helped me a lot. It was his idea. He said, put in there that if they don't open a new one, you get the name back, because it's you. And give them a shot. If they really can do it, we'd all want to see a new Skatelab, but put that in there. But when it came time to sign it, he backed out. He backed out, and because of that, he's the only guy that I would say fuck you right to your face, because he just it was pussy. It was chicken shit the way he did it.
And that was what, 6 years ago?
Like 7 years ago. Like he should, even now, because he still has done nothing with it. And it's funny, if you go on the website, he's got a store, and some of the shit he's selling are the old samples that I had gotten from Walmart, where they'd give me a first production sample. I must have left the box behind. He's got that shit on there. It's so bad. And I just sort of angry, because what he should have done was come back and said, we couldn't pull it off. You are the dude. I did teach lessons there for a long time, and it was a huge part of my life. I did tell you I was going to give it back. I'm obviously not doing anything. He should give it back. He should. Right. But I'm not going to call him, or I don't care enough anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well, like I said, you're on a new chapter.
I'm on a new
You
chapter,
have
but the reason I have any interest in still owning it is because I'm so proud of it.
Right, sure.
And
yeah, it's part of your life.
people think of me because of that, and I would love to be able to sell a Skatelab shirt in my store now, and be proud of it still. And it is a new chapter, but it'd be still cool to be able to, you know, have that as part of my
I understand.
repertoire. But
Do you
I'll
think
let it
there'd
go.
be a possibility that you can try to talk to this guy to get it back?
Maybe so, but I just have a feeling he's gonna try and, you know, $5,000 or something. You know, like, I don't want to. I really was hoping he was going to be a man, so to speak, and be true to his word. And he's not, obviously, because now it's been like 7 years. So I'm going to let go. And, you know, maybe he'll see this and realize the right thing to do would be to give it back.
There you go.
But if he doesn't, I don't care. It's okay. It's the world's loss, because he fucked it up. In my opinion, go look at the website. It's shit.
Yeah. When you moved into the new, did you decorate everything yourself?
Everything
in it?
myself.
Really?
Yep. And like there's
I mean, the place is massive.
it's
The new
10,000
place.
square feet. There's one wall, which I kind of call it my masterpiece.
Okay.
And it's a chronological display of skateboards.
Sure.
From the early homemade boards, like the one with the carpet on it,
Well, I want to get to that.
all the
stuff,
way to
too.
the modern new boards like John's board.
Yeah.
And it took me 10 days to do it. And when I first started, I had a buddy say, dude, I'm going to come help you. And I was like, okay, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
And we got there and I had everything kind of just laid on the ground. And he's like, you should do that and you should do this. And I said, dude, I got it. I got it. Like I didn't want his help because I had it. I saw it in my brain. The first time I opened the door, I saw the whole place in my brain, where the shop was going to go, where the mini ramp was going to go. And I just didn't need the help. And it feels better. I'm a sort of a DIY guy, and even when Skatelab was built, Tim Payne, the builder, he said, get 4 local skaters to volunteer. And then, and they stayed at my brother's house. We didn't have to get them a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
They fucking slept on my brother's couch. And like Gabe, we were talking about Gabe Clement. He was one of the dudes. He rolled up his sleeves and for like a month, for free, built ramps and did screws and drilled and lifted wood. And like, it was just a cool DIY style.
Shout out to Gabe.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Man.
You
Like I
were
said,
you were an artist in your format. Like you were trying to do it the way you envisioned it. So you didn't need anybody's help.
And when he made the first suggestion, and it was against what I saw in my brain, I just figured it's better if I just kind of do my own thing here. And it's better because now I get to tell people, it took me 10 days to do it.
Right.
There's my first board, the Surf and Susie. I'd like to tell the story about pigs because there's an era of skateboarding from like 79 to like 84 when the boards were really skatable. For the first time, like really skatable, like fat and flat pigs. And because of that, they didn't survive as much as the old boards with the metal wheels that weren't skatable. They lasted because they didn't get skated. So it's part of all that. There's only a small section of pigs because they're really hard to get because they didn't survive. So, and the 80s boards, a lot of people gravitate right to the 80s wall.
Yeah, late 80s.
I had the
mid-80s.
Gons. Oh, there's the Ray Barbie, the Guerrero, whatever it is.
Pull up my video, JC.
Yeah.
I just want to try to because
Tell me, I talk so much. Sorry.
no, this is what it is. It's a talk show. I wanted to talk to you about because when you were talking about just now when I went to go visit you, we have I got this video here. I went to go.
Yeah, look at that
visit
wall.
you.
I'm so proud.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. I even got scared on that one.
This is the wall, right?
Those are all homemade boards.
Now, the homemade board aspect, because it's interesting when I was talking to you about the history of the skateboard, right? We don't know when the first skateboard was even made. Is that correct?
It's correct. And I just came across a magazine from 1913. I almost brought it, but it's very delicate. And there's an article in there called How to Build a Skatemobile. And it's how to build the scooters. You can kind of see some of the scooters.
Yeah.
So the oldest information I've ever found of anybody, it was a scooter, but it was with roller skates, was from 1913.
That's psycho.
1913.
So basically, they would have the roller skates, and they would take the wheels off the roller skates and then put them on a piece of wood.
They would take a roller skate and they would cut it in half.
They would cut the roller skate in
Cut
half.
it in half, and then they'd screw the front on the front and the back on the back.
Right.
And then
So a pair of
that's
roller
all
skates
those.
would be 2 skateboards.
Exactly. And it's hard to see, but kind of above your hoodie there's a red board right to the right. And it's got a somebody put their feet in paint and stepped on the board to make art. It was so cool to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forgot. Look, there's the Van store right across from our place.
Wait, so it's one wheel front, one wheel back?
No, front wheel and 2 wheels and
No,
truck.
a roller skate
Yeah,
has
roller
2
skate.
wheels.
They're
No,
four.
okay.
So you can make 2
cut it
boards
in
out of
half. I didn't understand what you meant. Cut it in half. You meant the board in half or the
No,
truck?
the roller
no,
skate.
they take the roller skate.
Oh, the skate
And,
it-
and so
itself.
at the time, a roller skate, the way it worked was you used your regular shoes and you put your foot in this thing and put a leather strap on. So they would just cut it in half and screw it right to a piece of wood. And we have 268 of those.
Jeez.
And that's what's intriguing about skateboard collecting is I always use Hot Wheels as an example. If you're a Hot Wheel collector, every Hot Wheel that's ever made is known. There's a book of every Hot Wheel ever made. But because skateboarding started DIY, every board in that picture is a one of a kind.
Right.
There's one of one because it were homemade. So the one up there, you can see the footprint. They put their feet in paint
Yeah, right here.
and left their mark. And the one on the bottom right, They wrote put racing stripes, and it says Tiki. I tried to put the ones that had art with the art up.
So basically, like every board from this era is just completely different. There's no
Nope.
And when was the first production board? Was that
1962.
1962 was the first production board, and it was the
Ski skate.
The ski skate.
Yeah, from Culver City, California.
Yeah.
And they were toys. They weren't considered. It was called the ski skate, not a skateboard.
Right. Now this one that you brought here, which has got the
Shag carpet.
the shag carpet on the front.
That's so cool.
This is basically
Mid-60s.
a board that you're looking at here, where somebody
Yeah,
just
yeah.
put it together off of a roller skate.
Yeah, exactly. And that one may not have been a roller skate because, well, I don't know, to be honest.
I mean, this is loose ball bearings.
Yeah,
It's
and-
clay.
Yeah,
clay
it's clay.
wheels.
Clay wheels.
And the back wheel is like bigger than the front wheel, like a hot
Yeah,
rod.
you said
Right.
that.
And then the screws are slot head.
Yes.
So now they're all Phillips head.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
a lot of times you can tell fakes right away just by the screws.
Oh, interesting.
That's Day One Song's track right there.
Yeah. No bushings.
Yeah, so a lot of times the skates would survive. The old ones would survive
Wheel
because
wells.
the bearings would fall out.
Carved it out.
Yeah.
All
They
the bearings
carved
would fall
wheel
out.
wells,
Oh, that's
too.
my favorite part.
Yeah.
And only on the back because it's a much bigger wheel than
Right.
the front.
Makes sense.
That's so fucking
And so a lot of times people would skate barefoot, which is the carpet situation.
Yeah, man.
And somebody walked in with to my store with that one day.
So it was
You
a
can
ski,
tell if they're real.
It was a ski skate. That's the first production skateboard.
Yeah.
And then what would you say was the next one?
Roller derby.
The roller derby.
And they're about the same year, same time.
Okay. And when doing the skateboarding museum and everything, how did these things come into your possession? You buy a lot of the stuff.
All of it. Once in a while, I get a donation. Once in a while, I bought that board.
You bought this board. How
Almost
much are
everyone.
you buying something?
I think
like
it was
this?
$40.
$40. Okay.
Yeah, and like those have gone up to as much as like 80 to 100 now.
Okay.
People the prices have gone up in general, but I would never pay more than 100 for a homemade board.
Are you selling any of this stuff at all?
Lately, I've been selling some stuff because it was funny. I was giving Steve Caballero and his band a tour of the back room, and he caught me off guard. He's like, "Do you have any kids?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Where's all this stuff going to go when you die?" And I was like, "That's a great question, Cab." But I didn't know what to say. And I surely don't want my wife to have to sell it all off on eBay when I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been selling some of my extras just to sort of fund the whole museum. But my goal is to, because I know where I'm at. It's a temporary space, even though it's beautiful and my rent's low and it's near my house. I just the mall just got sold. They're talking about making homes there, and so my ultimate goal, there's
This is the back room. This is what I was talking about.
Yeah,
All the old boards here.
I have a lot of boards.
So wait, everything is there?
It's all there.
Amazing.
Well, no, I have some stuff in Belgium right now.
Oh, yeah,
And my garage, I like, it's kind of like don't want to put all your eggs in one basket kind of thing. So like some of the stuff that I have at the Design Museum in Belgium is like some of my best stuff because they're high level and it's high insurance. Yeah, see, I think I was just pulling out random stuff. So that table, that was a conference table from Transworld. When they closed, I got their conference.
Yeah, you got a
table.
720 game in there.
720 game, yep. I had two. I gave one to Torey Pudwill.
Wow.
Worm.
The worm. There's the podium in the background where we do the Hall of Fame. That shelf that I'm showing you there, that's when I do get a donation, I usually put it on that shelf.
Right.
So wait,
It's
you
an
said
empty
you
trash
have like
can.
5,000 pieces? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And out of that 5,000, how many do you think donated?
150, 200,
Amazing.
200 maybe.
That's amazing.
And how does you're a nonprofit?
Yep.
How
Since
does
2012.
How do you get money to buy all this stuff?
Well, I buy it personally. The nonprofit doesn't buy this.
Really?
Every skateboard in there, I bought with my own money.
So this is your personal collection.
My personal collection. The Hall of Fame owns a couple items. So sometimes, like that woman Lori Turner just donated Skateboarder Magazine #1.
Okay.
And I have like a list of things that were given specifically to the museum. But if I go to the swap meet and I buy something, it's my own money.
Wow.
On purpose. I don't want I don't know. My goal is to be able to have a fund that's being funded by the nonprofit to buy skateboards.
Okay.
And usually what I do is when I sell something, like I'm trying to think of an example. There was this crypto guy that was buying skateboards, and he put ridiculous money in front of me. He bought like $15,000 worth of stuff that I had like $3,000 into it. Sometimes somebody once told me, if they give you a ridiculous offer, sell it.
Yeah.
Just sell it.
All day.
And like I had this Lance mountain board that was in it was in that hallway that you were just showing with Donovan. And there's a picture in the disposable book of that hallway. And that book's like 20 years old. Somebody sent me an email with this Lance Mountain circle. Do you still have this board? If you do, I'll give you $5,000 for it. And I bought the board for $5. Wow. And so that's what I mean. So I pulled out the board. And I bought it at Powell. I used to have these parking lot sales, and I went there with $100. And I bought 20 boards for $100, and I was like, yeah, let me go find the Lance. I pulled this Lance. It was a yellow Lance. I set it down on the counter, and it was warped. It was like click, 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 click. So I had to tell the guy, yeah, I got it. Here's the Lance. It's beautiful, new condition, but it's warped. Oh. He goes, oh, $2,500. I said, no, I'm not selling it then. Yeah, fuck it. 5,000. I was gonna sell it.
What's he gonna do? He's gonna hang on the wall.
Yeah, whatever.
What are you gonna skate it?
Yeah.
So he thought for a couple of weeks went by. He's like, "Would you do 4,000?" And it was during COVID, and I was fucking broke. And I bought it for $5. I sold it. Wow. I sold it because
that'll work.
It really helped me, but I really miss it. You know what I mean? I'm bummed it's gone. You know, but I heard later too that the dude sold it for $12,000. And
What?
Somebody's probably just fucking with me to make me feel bad about it. But I heard that later he flipped it. But I don't know for sure. I just heard that, you know.
You remind me of like a baseball card collector. Like that's the kind of like that's how you look at it, because that's how baseball card collectors look at it. And comic collectors, like they value it, but if that deal comes through, they're like, I got to get rid of it. You know, it is what it is.
So that crypto guy, I've kind of got into collecting art. So when a board's created, somebody has to do the art. Like Sean Cliver does the art, and then they make the board. So there's only one piece of art, and I didn't even know that was a thing. But I have all these hookups and birdhouse boards that I got from back in the day. Blitz donated like 400 boards. So I had like a bunch of Heath Kirchards and Jeremy Kleins. Like I had 4 or 5 of them. And some dude said, hey, if you give me this Heath Kirchart, I'll give you this Jeremy Klein art and the board together. And I was like, really? What is that? You know? And so I started realizing, oh, this shit's cool. Because there's a board called Driller Killer. Do you ever remember that? It's a Jeremy Klein where it's like he's holding a drill, but it's all covered in blood and veins.
Yeah, I remember.
It's killer. It was a birdhouse. But I have that and the original art. Okay. And it just became, once in a while I forgot the original question, but once in a while I'll do a trade. And so I had these, or a sell. Okay. This crypto guy came in and I had a Steve Nesser. It was like a samurai sword.
Steve Nesser.
Steve Nesser was on Birdhouse. Yeah. But I had the original art and his board. Okay. And I had a Brian Sumner. It was like a praying like Virgin Mary and the art and the board. I had 2 sets. And I told the dude I got $3,000 into these 2 boards. He's, I'll give you $10,000. I was like, fucking sold, man. but my whole point was, if I sell something for $10,000, I set $1,000 aside to buy more shit. Right. At least. Okay. I always try to set 10% aside to buy more shit. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because the next day, some dude walked into my store with an 8-wheeler. I don't know if you know what those are. They're the coolest boards of the 70s. It's a board with...
You got one on your Instagram? Did you Instagram it?
Probably. It's in Belgium right now on display. Oh, okay. But the guy walked in and he had 2 boards and they were $900, which I would have never been able to buy except for some dude had just handed me like $15,000 for the day before. Right. So I bought it, and it really just a way to sort of keep elevating the collection because they were worth way more than I paid for them, and I got the money for free essentially, and it's just sort of my style. Like I just like to keep growing it, but I really want people to know that I need a permanent home.
Right.
Like
you just said they were going to sell them all.
Right. So I just signed they only will give me a year at a time. And I just signed my lease again for another year.
Damn it. Oh, sorry. Real quick.
Honestly, yeah. Oh, there's an 8-wheeler. Yeah. How much?
It
doesn't say. So that's an 8-wheeler. Lonnie Toft is the guy that invented it. And I have a couple now, but they're really cool, man.
Can you open it up in bigger?
They're really cool.
Are you only like collecting and selling skateboards? Are you doing like magazines, shoes?
All of it. But also, what's funny is, and if you go to my personal Instagram, at some point when I was making the Walmart money, I went back to collecting bikes because I could just buy them. I didn't have to go look for them at swap meets and garage sales. So I have about 60 really quality, beautiful bikes that I've had over the years too. And I also like Vespas and Lambretta scooters because sometimes I get burnt on skateboarding. And when I get home after, a few days at the museum, I want to go tinker on like a bicycle or go ride my Vespa or whatever. So I try to sort of, I'm not only into skateboarding, and I'm kind of a nut as a collector. Like I think
Are you a hoarder?
No, I'm not a hoarder. People ask that a lot. Yeah. And to me, at least from what I've seen on the show Hoarders, they're collecting pizza boxes and shit. You know what I mean?
A bunch of trash and shit.
Yeah.
Can you move around your house freely?
Yeah, no. So there's no skateboards in my house.
Okay.
In my garage there's some, but in my house, so I tried to get away by hanging that art in my house. When I started getting the art and like the Driller Killer,
Yeah.
I came home one day and they were off the wall and they were on the ground backwards. I told my wife, "What the fuck's going on?" She goes, "I don't want to see that anymore." It's like, there's just she didn't want the gnarly skate art in our spare bedroom or whatever.
Speaking of gnarly skate art, do you have like any of the like world graphics from like early 90s, 91-ish, like with all, you remember like they had so many different like controversial
I have some.
graphics.
I bought a print set from Mark. They're Mark McKee prints.
Yeah.
And one of them's like the blind with the gun.
Yep.
And the Day One song where he's like Day One song is like they're crossing a crosswalk.
Yeah.
And there's a James Craig where he's sitting at the Laker game with Jack Nicholson.
Yep.
I have the prints from those. And
That's rad.
it's funny because I have a funny story just thinking of James Craig. He used to come with this guy, Gideon Choi.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Gideon Choi, James Craig? I want to say Enrique Lorenzo, maybe. And this guy, Socrates Leo. All these world guys used to come to Skatelab. And one day after everyone left, I went out to leave, and there's all this. Somebody did like a trash dump from their car. Like before they were left, they dumped all their fast food and shit in the car. And as I was cleaning up the trash, I found a check stub from World Industries for James Craig for $300. I'm all those fuckers. You know what I mean? It was James Craig who left the mess here. And I think I sent a fax to Rodney Mullen about it. And I'm so sorry. My guy should be more respectful. And James Craig was so bummed on me after that. But we've since talked about it. Like we've had a laugh over it. But.
Well, James Craig
littering like that. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah,
James, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Bro? Come on, man.
He's cool.
right over there.
No, but James Craig came after all the controversial graphics.
Yeah, no,
and stuff
I know.
Like that.
That
It was
was
like the Javante Turner graphics.
Yeah,
and
no, I don't have the
none
Napa
of those.
Negroes
Right, yeah.
one. Like I don't have that stuff.
Yeah.
Because the reason I don't have that stuff is because that's when I started collecting. To me, those weren't collectibles. To go into a store and go, oh, that's going to be killer down the line, or somebody's going to want that Charlie's Kids, Adam McNatt.
Good luck.
The
Yeah.
Chris Markovich. And I remember I went into Gabe, my friend Gabe, he worked at the local shop, Surf and West, and he's like, dude, you should buy this Rodney Mullen. It was 1992. It was a Plan B where Rodney Mullen's got a chick on the back with no top.
Oh yeah.
It's also in the
legendary.
And I bought it, and he's like, "This is going to be collectible one day." And I have
That's
that
right.
one. I have one. I have a Ron Chapman where it's like he's on the Letterman show, like he's on the with Alien and Michael Jackson. I have that one. I have like 3 or 4 that I bought because my friend Gabe worked at the shop. He's like, "Dude, you got to get this
It's
one."
like a layup. Here, just get this one. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
have
and
a
there was only a
favorite
couple.
one? Do you have a favorite one that you've collected over the whole time, or something prized possession?
I mean, it's not probably if I really thought about it, but sort of my standard answer is whichever one I most recently got. I'm more. My friend called it the law of diminishing returns. Like a board that was my favorite in '92, I might even have forgot about it by now. But the board I got last weekend, I'm more excited about it. So I can't say
what was the
there's
last one then?
Oh, it's a great question.
It's a Chris Roberts board I gave you.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
hanging right next to the Keenan.
Ooh.
That wasn't the last one, but the last good one I got. Yeah, it's hard. I know I got one recently that I was so excited about, but I just can't remember.
Well, you get a
Can't
lot of
remember.
boards.
I don't like I used to though. I used to. The last one I got was from Lori Turner, who's in the Hall of Fame. She was like a champion in 1965, and she came to the ladies' lunch. And when a lot of the ladies, when they got there, they realized this is legit. Like this is a real thing. And like a week later in the mail, I got that Skateboarder magazine. I don't know if we even got it out, but the very first Skateboarder magazine. And she said in the card, go to page 37, and you'll see the very first picture of a woman on a skateboard, which was me. And here's the board I was riding. Oh, so that was like 2
She
weeks ago.
still had the board.
And she sent it to me, and it's a Hobie board. The trucks and wheels are gone, but she sent me the board, and then she sent me the magazine, which the magazine alone goes for $500 all day long.
First
It's
year, what year?
1965.
65. That was the first skateboard magazine. What was it called?
Yeah, it was called the Skateboarder Quarterly. They had 2 issues called Skateboarder Quarterly, but then it turned to Skateboarder Magazine.
Okay. And
there was 4 issues only in 1964, 1965, and then it died. And then Surfer took it up like in 1973, and then Greg Weaver was on the cover of Skate in a Pool. So there was like a gap, but it's a really, really rare magazine.
Did she have doubles of this, or she just decided to donate it?
I don't think she had doubles. She may have, but she did. Of the board, she had a couple.
Okay.
Because when she came to the ladies' lunch, she had a complete one.
Oh, look, this is kind of maybe.
Yeah, that's it.
Skateboarder
That's it.
Quarterly.
Yeah, so the one on the right is the one she gave me.
Jeez.
And on the cover is Davey Hilton, who just this year is getting in the Hall of Fame.
Amazing.
His dad owned the company Super Surfer, which is the word you have, Chris. Their dad owned that company.
Oh, yeah. Super
And they were wealthy, and it was an orange juice company, and they were trying to promote health. And their kids were skateboarders. So they bought the whole skateboard company. It was called Super Surfer by Vitapact, and Vitapact was the orange juice company. And that's I believe that's the uncle to Paris Hilton.
Okay.
Wow.
What?
And I think the dad was Conrad Hilton, who started, or Baron Hilton. There's a Hilton hotel
right.
chain. And then the second one is, I think, Randy Lewis is the guy's name. That was the Jack's skateboard team. The third one's Torger Johnson. He's dead now. He's in the Hall of Fame. He was a Loganersky hero. He was like a model, really attractive, good skater. And then Patty McGee. On the last one, we just lost her just last year.
I was blessed to meet her. I met her at Lance Mountain's art show.
Downtown?
In downtown.
Yeah.
Last
What was
year.
that, like a year ago or
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
The first time I met her, we were having this Mighty Mama skate around, something like a lady skate jam at Skatelab. I never met her before. I heard she was going to be there. Somebody said, "Hey, Patty McGee's up by the pool getting ready to do it." And I walked up and I said, "You must be Patty." And she grabbed me by the shoulders and pulled me and gave me a kiss on the lips. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was crazy. And at the time I remember going, "Oh God, that was gnarly," but I'm so glad that happened. And she was a trip. She was a trip because she later, I really became friends with her over the years. And the next time, at one point she bought a vintage trailer and was just touring the country in this vintage trailer. And she stopped at Skatelab at one of the stops. And she goes, "Hey, you're not looking me in the eye." And she kind of grabbed me. She goes, "You gotta look." She told me that's not. I have a hard time with, like, just even now. Like, I have a hard time looking people in the eye. And she's like, "You got to work on that. That's a really bad trait. It's really good when you look." She was really cool lady.
Yeah.
Like a really cool lady. When I went to her memorial, they had like a video of her life, and for the longest time, she lived like outside of like somewhere in the desert, like on one of those buffalo things where they sold turquoise and buffalo rugs. Her husband, like Jim, was like the trader, and then she worked there and drove on the back of her Harley. She was just a really cool woman, man. She was a really cool woman, and I'm really proud that she's my friend.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I take. Sometimes I don't think back at how lucky. Yeah, there she is. And you know what was good about her was this was a commercial for telephones.
That's crazy.
What?
That was.
Yeah.
This whole thing is like a montage on her life.
Yeah.
But she went on the game shows. You'll see one picture where there's a cover. She was in a movie that was an Elvis movie.
What?
And there's that's a commercial. That's What's My Line. They had her on the game show. Where they had to guess what she did. She was dressed all pretty. And that was a movie. And she skated to get the phone. And she got there and it's like, "Hello, hello." They'd already hung up, but she skated to get to the call. But the reason that she was so important to skateboarding is because she traveled that's from a movie.
Yeah.
There's Dick Clark. She traveled the world talking about how good skateboarding is for you and how healthy it is and how everybody's doing it. She was the person that brought skateboarding to regular people all over the world.
That's amazing.
And she was pretty and she was friendly and she was just personable. And there she is. Look at, they're all like, "Whoa, what is this skateboard thing?" Like, and if you watch some of her TV appearances, she was just such a sweet girl. Just, I don't mean to use that so much, but yeah, that was from one of our first induction ceremonies.
Wow.
When IASK was doing it, and then IASK eventually folded when Mark Waters died.
Yeah.
But it was a good organization, I think.
What are you going to do? You said like you're kind of like a month to month, year to year.
I got to the end of the year.
Okay.
So I've had 4 relocation attempts.
What are they going to do with the mall though?
They're going to build housing.
Oh, they wanted to, because the mall in the Simi Valley, it's not in the best area. It's kind of a defunct mall, maybe. Like
Well,
there's not that many
It just
tenants.
slowed down.
It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful
It's a nice
place.
area.
It's great.
So they're not going to level the mall, but they're going to take a lot of the retail and change it into mixed use, where it's like retail and people live above of it.
Oh, interesting.
And I noticed in the map, they showed a map of where they're going to build housing in the parking lots. But in my area, I noticed was one of the new housing areas. They haven't told me that I'm getting kicked out or I'm going to have to leave. But even regardless,
You know it.
No, not even that. I hope for better for the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
It doesn't really belong in Simi Valley. It just happens to be where I live. And like even Lucero, when Lucero and Lance came, last year, I was apologizing that it was in Simi Valley. And Lucero was like, no, dude, it's okay. We'll come here. Yeah. You're okay. We are here. It's not that far. It's okay. You don't have to apologize. You have a great spot here. But even that, I just want a place that I can unpack. Like that back room, it shouldn't be in the back room. I want to, like at Skatelab, I was unpacked. That shit was out. And I want to do it again, but not here because I know I'm going to have to move. And I've had a couple relocation attempts. Yeah. I tried to move to, this guy called me and said he wanted to move it to Ventura. Patagonia, the clothing company, moved, and their old warehouse was cool. And he's like, let's do this. And we just couldn't work it out. I don't know why. It just didn't work out. Like, people always want like me to sign over like a piece of he's like, you got to give me 30% ownership. I said, what the fuck for, dude? I've been doing this for so many years. I don't need, you want me to do the same thing I'm doing here in Ventura and give you part of, it's not going to work out, dude. You know? And he was cool and we shook hands. And then the next one was Salman Agah called me and he's like, hey, I got this building. I was going to make like a restaurant, make it bigger, but I really want to make the museum of skateboarding. And dude, I was excited because he's like, and you're the guy. Everyone I talk to is like, if I do it, I have to do it with you. And I was like, wow, it made me feel good because Skatelab was over and I was like, fuck, Salman Agah, I respect him so much. And let's do this, you know? And he goes, look, I'll work for free and you work for free, but when we make money, we're going to make money. This is going to be the most money we made. I've got great ideas. And what I liked about Salman Agah was he was a skater and he was into it. And we started brainstorming ideas. And he's like, I want to do it. His ideas were cool. And maybe I shouldn't share them because I hope we do it again. But he goes, I want to do the first thing I want to do is going to be called The Roots. And we're going to just celebrate the roots. You got the best collection. But then I want to do one called Skateboarding is Gay. And I want to put a unicorn and a rainbow on top. I want to paint the whole thing pink. And I want to just celebrate the gay skateboarders. And he goes, I really want to push the envelope. I was like, it sounded so fucking awesome. He goes, then I want to do a Lance Mountain one. And I want to get Lance to paint the whole building. And I want to just make a capsule where we have a Lance board and a Lance. And then I want to do a Gons one. And I was just like, this is incredible. And then he called Vans and he's like, he got Vans to put up the money to build a pool. And he got Lance to design the plans for the pool. I saw them. And then we did an event with Nora.
Oh, Vasconcelos.
I love her, yeah. And I tried to, we did this event for like Adidas or whatever it was, and I didn't know much about her, but I started looking because I knew we were going to do this event. And the museum was just a shell of an event. I really didn't have the nerve to go talk to her, but I really wanted to because low key I had a crush on her because she's a ripping skater and she's really, really, I just enjoyed watching her. And there she was. She's getting ready to go into the event. And I just put my head down. I didn't have enough to say hi to her, but we did one event at the Museum of Skateboarding, and then COVID came, and I know that Salman, it was hard, I think, for him because he had a close, he had a restaurant. Like he was passionate about the restaurant, and I remember going there, and right after our meeting, he was going to have like a staff meeting to talk about what they were going to do, and then eventually he just said, "Sorry, dude, the landlord." Somehow the landlord changed his mind. He didn't want the museum there, and we lost the space. And I was like, fuck. And then he said, dude, we'll come back around, you know, and we just have it because it's hard. And I remember going to his restaurant when he opened back up, and I'd never met his wife, and she was like slinging pizzas because they were still closed, but they were selling pizzas, and I just knew who she was, but I never met her. And I introduced her, and she goes, oh, really nice to meet you. She was so sweet and so nice. She goes, God, aren't you glad we didn't dump a bunch of money into that? You know, like, thank God. And like, she was so right. But I really had high hopes because I remember making a flyer about the roots, about our first thing, and sent it to Salman. And he probably laughed. To my face, he didn't laugh. But he was like, dude, don't do any of that stuff. I got a great graphic artist. You don't have to fuck with that stuff. Right. And then in hindsight, it was probably so lame compared to what he saw in his brain. And it was going to be fun. Yeah. It was going to be fun. And we were both volunteering. I was closed on Monday and Tuesdays. So I would drive down there on Mondays and I was polishing the floor with a concrete polisher. Like, we were really doing DIY work to make it happen. And it sucked. And then the third attempt was, I always had this dream of being in Las Vegas. Even before Skatelab, I felt like, where can you go where the most eyes are going to see your shit? And it was, the logic answer was Las Vegas. And the Venetian had just opened, and they had a Guggenheim museum in there. And I went there, and they had an exhibit on motorcycles. I was like, this is insane. This is where the museum should be. So I started talking to the Guggenheim people about making the skateboard museum. And in the end, they said no. And I just gave up on it. And then I had, when Skatelab closed, there was an antique store I used to go to. Whenever I go on vacation, I go to the antique store to look for skateboards. And I went to this antique store and it was closed and it was out of business. I was like, I called the number. It was right in the Arts District. I asked the lady, hey, could we make this a skateboard museum? How much is the rent? She goes, well, it's a 12,000 square foot space and it's $1 a square foot. It's going to be $12,000 a month. I was like, fucking never can I do it, you know?
Crazy,
but ironically, that became the punk rock museum. That building is now the punk rock museum. So I had some other dude approach me and ask me, and I was like, yeah, let's do it, you know? And kind of like I said, I always say yes until it's time to say no. And I tried really hard. I worked almost all last year with this guy to try to make it work, but our visions were different. Like his vision for what he thought it should be and my vision for what I thought it should be, they just didn't line up. And it was no hard feelings or anything. We both tried, you know, I tried, you tried, and it didn't work. And so I still have hopes of finding a real permanent home. And, you know, maybe someone will see this.
Yeah.
And like, I put an ad on Craigslist once that said, turnkey tourist attraction. All you got to do is give me a space and a month and I'll show up and give you a tourist attraction. And I had one dude call me, but nobody that was serious. And I let it go. But I just felt like...
Like a lost connection section?
Yeah, something like that. Or connections wanted or whatever. But I just feel like skateboarding deserves it. Yeah. Like, not to get corny and like, thank you skateboarding or any of that stuff. But the Hall of Fame, even though it is working right now, and I'm really proud. And we have visitors from all over the world. I went to the California Surf Museum. And I noticed they had a guest book, and they were able to generate a circle on how many were from Europe, how many were from Asia, whatever. They had a whole thing. And I was like, that's a fucking great idea, because my landlord, I want him to know that we're bringing more people to this mall than any other tenant in the mall, any other one by far. And like in July, I had like 9 countries and 17 states represented from this guest book, and not everybody signed it. I didn't ask you to sign it. It was just there.
Sure.
And I showed it to my landlord, and he's like, wow, I really had no idea. I had no idea. I'm like, well, that's why I want you to know that we're valuable, because those people are coming from out of town, and they're definitely stopping at California Pizza Kitchen or buying some shoes at Vans. Like, we're a huge value to that mall.
Right.
And even if they do build houses and stuff, it'd be good for them to keep us there, because we're bringing people that wouldn't normally even come to Simi Valley. Like, I had a whole family come from Malibu, and the dad's like, yeah, the kids are pissed. I made them come out here on vacation. You know what I mean? Like, but he's like, I'm so glad we did. I'm so glad we did, because when you get there, it is, and I have a hard time sort of patting myself on the back.
Yeah.
But every time my mom visits, and it's just my mom, she has to, but she's so genuine about it. She's like, you know, this is so beautiful. Every time I come here, I just need you to know, I want to make sure you know that this is just like a work of, like, it's my mom, but she has to say it, but she doesn't. I can just tell she really means it. And then when she says that, I usually step back and kind of look around, you know, and then a couple years ago, I bought a ladder at a garage sale. It was like a 12-foot, like all the stuff up there, I was working off an extension ladder by myself. That's so scary, because usually you gotta have someone holding it for you. It's sketchy as shit. Sure. So I was riding my bike one day, and I went by this garage sale, and there's this giant like 12-foot ladder, and it was $50. And I gave the dude the money. I said, I'll be back. And I got my van. And once I did that, I realized it's just as easy to move the shit out of the back room as it is the front room. So I started hanging stuff from the rafters, and I had all these old scooters that were just thrown in the back in a pile. And I just started hanging them up, and it just made the place look so much more complete. So I don't know. I'm still not unpacked. Like, you've seen those pictures.
Oh, dude, yeah.
But I want to unpack.
Yeah. No.
I want to unpack. And my dream is, just like this last guy that I was working with from Vegas, the first thing I said was, why don't you buy me out? Why don't you let's put a number on it, and you just take over. Like, I'm getting older now. And he said, well, I don't think it can be done without you. And he's right, I believe.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't able, I don't know if he didn't have the funds, or either way, I hope that there's somebody that will come along, and I don't think it's in the skate industry. People always say, how come Tony Hawk isn't, giving you all this money? And it's partly is one of the thing I noticed, or I know that I learned about myself, is I'm really bad at, I'm better now, but I've been really bad at asking for money and help. I'm really bad at that. And when I first moved from Skatelab to the Hall of Fame, I told myself, I'm a nonprofit. I'm going to be the fundraising master. I'm going to get on. I'm going to start doing Facebook fundraising, whatever. And I was just going to launch my first Facebook fundraiser. And as I was going to launch it, I started noticing in my feed, there was a big wildfire in Ventura where like 400 houses burned down. Damn. And all the people were raising money for, my parents lost their house. And then there was a shooting. In Thousand Oaks near my house, there was a country western bar called Borderline.
Yeah.
Some fuck up went in there, shot all these people, killed like 7 people. And like the bouncer was from Simi Valley, and all these people were asking for these 2 things. Right at the time, I'm going to ask for money for the Skateboard Museum. And it just felt like wrong. And maybe at the time it was wrong. But when I tell people that, they're like, yeah, the timing was wrong, but the cause is good.
Sure.
It is good.
Yeah.
And I've gotten better at asking for money, but I don't have that sort of white knight person that's like, backing me. Right. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a monthly donor or a yearly donor. There's not like no one's ever donated like, I'll use Alex Midler, his family, his dad was real appreciative that we were able to give Alex Midler a place. He actually took lessons for a long time. He spent, as a little kid, let me back up. When I had the Walmart thing going, I created this thing called the Lab Rats, and I picked 4 of the best young kids, and they were Alex Midler, Tom Shar, this kid named Max Klein, and Tristan Funkhauser. Those were my 4 local rippers, and they were like 8, and they were called the Lab Rats. And they were fucking all, I don't know what happened to Max Klein, but the other 3, Alex, who's on the cover thrasher, Tom Shar, who just fucking dominates the tranny, and Tristan Funkhauser, who's fun as shit to watch skate. They're really high-level skaters now, and they were my Lab Rats. And like, it's pretty funny when you think back on that, but I think because of that, like the Midlers, when I was moving, they donated $15,000 and they paid for our whole skate park.
I love that.
Like Mr. Midler's like, hey, we just appreciate what you did for our son. He was able to really cut his teeth there. Yeah. Here's $15,000 and spend it as you see fit. And we built the mini ramp. We bought we spent every nickel. And I mean, I don't know. I don't have to mention that. They don't care.
Yeah.
He didn't want the recognition.
No.
But I put up a sign on our mini ramp that says the Midler Family Mini Ramp, just out of respect because they helped me so much. And I saw they recently lost their house in the Palisades fire. And I reached out and wrote Mr. Midler a nice letter just because I felt for him. And he helped me so much. Like I really looked at him as a mentor because he just gave me really good advice. Like try to like put the clause in there where you get the name back. And he used CBGB as an example. He's like, look at CBGB. Imagine, whoever owns that name, it was been gone for 30 years, but now it's a trend to buy the shirt. He's like, look at Skatelab as that. Like, in 20 years, people are going to want that as nostalgic. It was his idea.
Right.
I just wanted to give him a shout out because he was such a good guy to me. The whole family.
That just kind of like how come there isn't like a monthly, not a GoFundMe, but a monthly like fundraiser or people can donate.
I'm really glad you mentioned that. Because there is.
There is.
Well, there's about to be.
Oh.
So what we did was we created a membership program.
Yeah.
It's $75 or more. Like the entry level $75, and it'll launch like next week. On the way here, we have a volunteer named Jeff Greenwood. He has a site called Concrete Disciples. But after Mark Waters died, he took over our website, and he's really smart. And he created this membership program. And if you become a member, it's $75 a year, and it auto renews every year. But you get a free T-shirt right away. That's $25. Yeah. You get 15% off the award ceremony and 15% off all the merch for the whole time. You could easily get your $75 back.
Yeah.
So
you're going to launch a membership program.
Yeah, membership program. Okay. 75.
Perfect.
75, 250, 500. There's different levels.
Different tiers. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. And like, I'm not. I don't want to be a skeptic, but I have a hard time believing that we're going to get all these members because people haven't been overall. With the exception of the Midlers and a few others, people haven't been super generous on supporting us. The industry especially. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's the economy is not in the best.
Absolutely. And I'm not crying over it because I'm not trying to get rich. But on the other hand, I don't want to only have like $2,500 in the bank account because that's like my monthly nut, and like I need to have like, $50,000 or whatever.
Reserves.
Some kind of reserves.
Yeah,
because last year I spent $7,000 of my own money which the way my business is set up, I have a for-profit, which is my skate park and my shop, because I have to, excuse me, I have to make money.
Yeah.
And it's just enough to survive. And luckily, the best thing I ever did is I bought a house in 1992. It's almost paid off. And if it wasn't for that, I would be fucked.
Right.
I would be fucked because my overhead's low. And I ride a Vespa. Like, I'm not trying to get some new truck every year or whatever. Like, I don't have this big need to, like, you know, be rich, but I just want to make sure that it's there for everybody forever.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured that out yet. I haven't figured it out. There's a way to do it.
You just need the right people to help you.
You know who's been helping me is Bob DeNike.
Oh,
He randomly just started. The bummer is he just retired, and he's taken like 6 months away for skateboarding, but he's helped me so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like the wisdom that he's given me, like last year trying to negotiate this possible relocation, he gave me such good advice, and he's just helped me.
Yeah.
And also Richard Novak. I had an opportunity recently. Google has this area of San Jose, and they offered me a free warehouse, and it was beautiful. It was raw though. Like it was just it was an old iron factory, so it was raw. And I was like, you know what? I'm calling Rich Novak right now. I'm gonna cold call him right now and see if he'd help me. It was right across from where the San Jose Sharks play, and because I'm willing to move. And I don't want to move. I've lived in Simi Valley for over 50 years, but I'm almost 60, and I'm open to it. Whatever the right thing is for this brand or this museum. And I called Richard Novak, and he's like, listen, free rent's never free. The first thing he said. And he was so fucking right. Because he goes, look, up there, can't hire for anybody for less than $30 an hour. Everybody you're going to need to help do it's your house. What's it worth here? $850? $2.5 million up there. Like he just said.
He broke it down.
He broke it down. But then he went on further to say, also, I'm going to open a museum. I already have the space. And when the time comes, I'm going to reach back out to you. And you're going to help us, and we're going to work together. And like, he was fucking cool, man. The NHS has been really cool to me.
They have a good little thing going on at their warehouse too.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
they have a long-term plan, and Bob's part of it too. Like when Bob comes back, he's going to launch this. I think it's called the First Push Foundation. They have a foundation, and they are going to build a museum. And they have their archive is incredible. And there's some companies that I've noticed as a shop. I've had a shop now for almost 30 years. Some companies are next level in terms of the way they do business. And NHS is one of them. Pal's the other one. Like whenever you get an order from Pal, for example, the box always has an extra strap around it. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. Like, and it's always full of packing. Like they just seem to do and
it's the little
you can
things
tell
that stand out.
It stands out, and longevity. You know that it matters. And I was just in Belgium, and this guy was bragging that he's the oldest shop in Belgium. He's been there over 30 years. And I said, you know, I already know why you've been. I already know why. After talking to him for half an hour, he goes, why? And I said, because you're a friendly guy. And I was in Philadelphia, and I had a day to myself, like in 2004. And I just walking up and down. I can't think of the name of the street, the main street, and there was a shop there. And I walked in, and these guys were dicks. And I owned Skatelab. I owned a really high level skate park. I had a shoe shop, and they were just total dicks to me. You know, and I thought, fuck. And I bet they're not there now because of that. But when I met this guy from Belgium, he's like 30 years. I'm the oldest shop in all of Belgium. And I said, I know why, because you're a friendly guy. And I think that's the same with where do you go where you're like mistreated and you're paying money?
Right.
You know, any restaurant or whatever.
There's some stores out there that operate like that.
That's bad business.
Yeah.
I think just being friendly is number one in any business, and especially in a skate shop, because a lot of times it's a mom coming in to buy something for their kid, and it can be very intimidating for them just to go in the front door. Yep. And then when they do, if you make them really welcome and you're really friendly and personable, you could have a customer for life. And I think that was this guy's success in Belgium. He didn't say that, but that was my read on
your feeling. Yeah. Where can people? So when this membership plan is launching, you said really soon, probably by this time this episode's out.
That's the goal.
It's going to be
skateboardinghalloffame.org. So our website,
skateboardinghalloffame.org.
.org. A lot of people don't get the .org part, but being a nonprofit, I just think that's makes more sense. .org. We have no employees. We have no CEO. It's just me. And we have a board of directors too. Okay. Jim Fitzpatrick, who is the chairman of our board, he's the guy that made it possible for America to build public skate parks. He the guy that championed that whole cause.
Salute to him.
Yeah, seriously. But Louise Bama, who her and Larry Bama were from Transworld. We have a cool board of directors. Jack Smith, Brian Logan. We they're the people that help us move us forward. The volunteers, the museum, that just talks about us. That we're when we started, how big we are. It's just there it is, 100% by volunteers. We rely on donations to continue bringing the public fun and informative exhibits and displays. We also pretend so the cultural exchanges. When you come, you'll see that we have a whole section, for example, of boards that were made in the Soviet Union. And there's another museum in Belarus called the Minsk Skateboard Museum. And the guy Gleb, Kenny Reed is?
Oh, yeah,
Kenny Reed?
absolutely.
So he came and picked up like 6 boards from me and went to the Soviet Union and came back with 6 boards from Gleb. And we anytime someone's traveling, trade.
Yeah.
I call it a culture exchange. So he's got an American section in his thing with the roller derby and the ski skate. And then I have a section in mine with all the Soviet boards. And you will never go to a garage sale anywhere in America and find a board from the Soviet Union. You'll not fucking find them. They're really, really rare. And I'm really proud. There's how you can donate right there.
Right.
You can pick the amount. And, having that as like a sort of a hook in the water, so to speak, on our website, no one's ever, other than the Midlers, no one's ever donated like $5,000.
Right.
If I get a donation, it's $20 or whatever.
But still, like anything,
it adds
right?
up. It all adds up. And
anything
I always used to say that with Skatelab. The nickels and dimes matter. Right. Selling a kid a sticker for $1, that really matters.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I watched a little bit of the Nate Sherwood episode. Yeah. And a few years ago, I saw a video where he was talking about grip tape removal. And he's like, we charge $5. And I was like, that is a fucking fair idea. Because grip tape removal is the hard, other than kingpin replacement, which you don't have to do anymore for some reason. Kingpins don't seem to break anymore. Grip tape removal sucks. Yeah. But I watched Nate Sherwood do it with a heat gun, and he charged $5. And so I figured out a way to do it because of him for $5.
Yeah.
But I saw you guys talking about when someone brings in something they bought, online, he charges a $10 service fee.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I don't do it because a kid, for example, there was a kid I was trying to sell him a board for like a month. He needed a board. He was gone. He came back with a brand new board, and he needed me to put it together. And I was inside. I was so pissed. I go, "Oh, he got a new board, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah, I finally got to go visit my dad for the weekend in Long Beach, and he got it for me."
Okay.
How the fuck could I charge him $10 to build the thing? I built it, and I know he'll come buy his next one from me. And I think it's fair to do it. $10 service fee. Yeah. I'm not doing it. I do that for free. It takes me 5 minutes to build a board. Yeah. I look at that as goodwill. I'm not gonna vibe somebody because they bought it. If you buy a shit board on Amazon, I'll absolutely tell you that is a piece of shit. Yeah. And I'm going to do a whole display at some point of all the shit boards.
You should.
I will.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
I'm going to.
But everybody's got their own business practices.
No,
right?
I'm not saying bad about
for
Nate.
sure.
I look up to him. I think he runs a good. The fact that he's still there doing it,
exactly,
in a small town in Iowa or wherever he is,
crazy.
No, nothing but respect. Yeah. I'm just saying, from my style, I would rather just sort of use it as an opportunity to give him a freebie.
Yeah,
it's a freebie. Like, hey,
that'll bring him back.
I like the billboards. I don't have any. That doesn't ever. I hate taking grip tape off. I like the billboards. I love gripping boards. I love it. It's fun for me.
Yeah. Well, I hope that maybe people watching this episode will get involved, and maybe we could bring some type of donations or.
Hey, honestly, that's why I'm here.
Awareness and
what do you the new thing you got going on
memberships.
The memberships. Thank you.
Yeah. And so that you can just donate.
Yeah.
But if you become a member, you get something back.
No, that's great.
You get something back.
So it'll be on the same website. It'll probably be here under the donations, right?
Yep. Donate.
Donate button. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Another cool thing that we've done that I really like on there, when I just saw, is below the donate button, there's a button called In Memory.
Yeah.
And on there, remember and respect. We tried to, anyone that's had their hand in skateboarding that died.
Yeah.
And that's the ceremony where we talk. It's Don Brown and David Hackett on the stage. That's the part of the ceremony where we did a video of everyone that had passed away that year. But if it's blue, if it has a little medallion next to their name, they're in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
If it's blue, you can go deeper.
Right.
Like if you click on, you could like I don't know who Scott Stames is or whatever, but there's Torger Johnson, and it'll tell you how he died. There's a video. He is on the cover of the magazine, and. You can, if you want to be a skate nerd like me or Lucero, you can. You just get into our website and get deep. Look at there's this whole story. I mean,
love
you
that.
can get deep into it, and there's regular people in that in memory. It's not only like I don't know Justin Pierce, for example, or Rob or Monroe.
Justin Pierce, is that the Justin Pierce from
New York?
Yeah, New York.
Yeah, I mean he's not old. He was
and Kids.
Yep.
Yeah, so he passed away. It looks like July 10th, 2000.
Yeah.
And there's Jeff Phillips, for example.
Mike Ternaski.
Mike Ternaski getting in the Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And Rocco told me he may come to the ceremony just because of that.
Okay,
Rocco told me that Mike Ternaski is the nicest guy in skateboarding.
I've never been to one of the Skateboarding Hall of Fame, so I'm excited.
Shame.
I'm excited to go.
Yeah, you guys are going to be there,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I'm going to go.
We pitched it to fans that you're going to be throwing some commentary out.
Yeah, we want to do
Commentary.
something there,
That's it.
interview some people before the event starts. But
It'll
I'm
be-
just excited
yeah.
just to go because I've never been. So I'm
It's-
looking forward to it. May 30th.
May 30th. It's a
30th.
Friday night. It's at the Vans headquarters. It's $80,
Okay.
but includes dinner. And there's some people that can eat $80 worth of food, to get your money back.
Sure.
And it's in my eyes, in my opinion, it's like skateboarding's best night.
I love that.
And one thing that, and I appreciate Vans for doing this. They really are trying to drive it to the newer generations.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for them to sell it on the old men and women and the people from the 60s. It's a lot easier for them to sell it to their corporate or whatever when it's bringing a younger crowd. And again, like I said about the women, we're just a reflection on history. We can't fast forward. And one of the mistakes we made way back when was we inducted Eric Koston. And I remember somebody said, "Yeah, Eric wants to know if he has to retire now." And it was just one of those things where we just learned from it. And
Like it was too early?
I think so. I think so. I mean,
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't really know Eric that well. Like I maybe only met him once or twice. So I
Yeah.
don't. It'd be nice. It'd be fun to hear what he had to say about it. But I bet the trophy's in his house somewhere.
Yeah,
I bet
for
it's on
sure.
display, and people are proud of the trophy. It's a cool thing. And every year when we announce the inductees, I usually do a live announcement, and I always say before I list the names, "Hey, we can't include everybody. So instead of complaining that your guy or girl didn't get in this year, call one of the people that got in and congratulate them. Because if there's someone that should get in that hasn't got in yet, we do know about them. Don't like Bill Danforth, the Nomad. He has a fucking huge group of fans that really want him to be in the Hall of Fame. And every year, is it Nomad's year? It's got to be Danforth. When's the Nomad? To me, it's important. When people are angry, I feel like we're doing something right because they want to be in there. They're bummed they didn't get in. That means we're doing good shit. Because if you're bummed you didn't get in, you want to be in. We're doing good stuff. So I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's one of those things where watch what you wish for.
Yeah.
Watch what you wish for because it's hard as a volunteer myself. Like I don't draw a paycheck from the Hall of Fame. The only way I make money is when I charge people to skate, which also feels kind of hard to do. It's hard to charge people to skate. But we do give you, air conditioning, cranking the tunes, whatever. If you break your arm, we're going to help you, whatever it is. Like there is value that we give you for the
Absolutely,
for it.
dude.
But
Real quick, going back to the Eric Koston thing.
Yeah.
I think it's appropriate. I mean, look, there's going to be certain individuals that you already know that they are going to be in the Hall of
But
Fame.
he was like in 2011, or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Maybe, I guess it's a little premature.
It's been a long time,
But
and
at the
I
same
heard,
time,
But he's so prolific anyway. that
Exactly.
No, he
it's-
definitely deserves it and should be in there. But I heard at the time he was like, "Oh, what? Now I got to retire?" Like,
no, don't take it wrong.
It made him
Well, it's early on. How long has it been going for?
since 2009.
Yeah, so
So
like
2
second
years,
year
yeah.
in, you're probably like, oh.
Yeah.
But this, yeah.
Yeah, but
Well-
this is not Major League Baseball. This is not the NBA.
No, it is
Skateboarding
different.
is different.
But you also
Absolutely.
know that Eric Koston, who has been skateboarding for 30 years at that point, or however long, absolutely deserves to be in the
100%.
Skateboarding Hall of
No,
Fame.
nobody's
You could
saying
have
that.
you could have said that in the 90s that he
nobody-
deserves to be in the
nobody's saying
Skateboarding
that.
Hall of Fame.
That's for sure.
So
bro.
That's for sure.
that's
I
but
mean,
I
he
but I
can,
understand
he
that.
can feel it in his little way, but at the end of the day, this is a respect for you and what you've done for skateboarding.
But you heard that through the grapevine, right? It could've been
I
a
heard it
joke
through the grapevine.
or
I think
something.
Lance told me that because that year, Lance, and this was a weird thing. That year, the co-host of the night were Barra and Lance, and it was just a trip.
That's a
it was
odd couple.
it was a weird combo,
Yeah.
and it was in downtown LA in the Cooper Building, like the top floor of this building. It was actually really cool. Like some of the ceremonies have been really, really cool, and some have been better than others, but that was one of the coolest ones.
I can't wait to
got
go,
drunk
man.
that
I'm
night.
gonna. You got drunk?
I try not to drink
Oh, okay,
now.
okay.
There's one of the things at Skatelab, we filmed this video with Limp Biscuit, break stuff. It's all about the
Oh,
he said,
yeah,
she
yeah,
said.
yeah.
If you ever see that video, like
You did
Danny
it
Way was
there.
there, and there was like millions of views, but And we had just opened, and I got drunk. I don't know why I thought it'd be okay to drink that day. And I started drinking those big cans of Foster's. Oh, and I drank like 4 of them, and I was so fucked up that my wife had to take over. And now my wife's like, "Are you Limp Biscuit drunk?" Like, but I learned that day that when I'm like the host of a party, don't get there. It is, yeah. And that's Torey Pudwill.
Amazing.
But I got drunk that day, and I learned that when you're the host of the party, you got to keep your mind in the right place.
Right. Sure.
Because I blew it that day. It was embarrassing. That's Fred Durst, and
amazing.
they showed our sign, which was cool.
Yeah.
And
did they pay you for that?
yeah, they paid us.
Okay.
They paid us. It was weird though. Like at the end of the show, we found 7 cases of cold Red Bull in the trash.
Huh.
It was just weird. I don't know. It was just weird. Like
Well,
they,
dude,
they threw it away. So,
I can't wait to go to the Skateboarding Hall of Fame May 30th. The tickets are on sale now if you want to.
yeah, they're on sale now. We've already sold over 100 tickets.
Oh, there you go. And just thanks for what you do, man. I think
thanks.
preserving skateboarding history and teaching people. I mean, I never knew before I went to the Skateboarding Hall of Fame in Simi Valley and I met up with you. I never knew that there was you can't put a date on the exact when skateboarding was born. You know,
or who started it.
or who started it. It's just kind of this like mystery thing that kind of grew out of
I love that.
necessity
I love
of
it.
things. So I think it's super interesting. And dude, just thanks, man. I think it's
appreciate
incredible,
that.
bro. And I hope that I hope that you find a forever home.
I will.
And
always
I
land on
hope
my
that
feet.
people that love skateboarding will help become like a member of the Skateboarding
yeah,
Hall of Fame and
that'll help
donate
us.
and stuff like
and,
that.
and if you
know?
do, we do good stuff with the money. It's
Yeah.
not, we're not.
I don't think
we
anybody's
don't
questioning that.
I know, but I just feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, but you
that's
need
what
to.
I know.
We know.
You can feel the
yeah.
authenticity like,
100%.
that you
Yeah,
display.
yeah.
bro.
Thank you.
100%.
Like I said, I'm just not good at asking for money. And
It's
help.
okay.
Do you remember the first time
I'll ask
that
for
I
you.
met you or recently?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? We probably met a while ago. but-
Sure.
Okay.
Wait, when was it? No, when I went to your.
No. Before that, I was riding my bike at Venice Beach, just maybe 2 years ago, and you were sitting there at the ledges where everyone skates.
That's right.
I told my wife, "Oh fuck, that's Chris
Yeah,
Roberts
yeah,
right there." She goes, "So what?" And I said, "I gotta go give him my business card."
I do remember that.
And you're sitting there like gripping a board or something. I go,
Yeah.
"Chris," you're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Hey, I'm Todd from the Skateboard Hall of Fame. Here's my business card." You're like, "Oh, hey, you're very friendly." But I remember, I don't know. I wish I would have done that with when I met Nora. But
I do remember. I do remember that.
I didn't ever meet her actually. I wish I would have gone up and introduced myself like I did to you. But I was
Yeah.
just thinking about that the other day. I once was riding in the same place, and I just right near there was a parking lot.
Let me
and I
guess,
looked over
Nodis?
no, Jeff Ho.
Jeff Ho.
With no shirt on, just sitting there, leaning against the car. I stopped and go, "That's fucking Jeff Ho." Turn around, Jeff Ho, what's going on? It was just where you would expect to see him, like right at the bottom of Bicknell Hill, sitting there checking out the surf, It was so like Dogtown.
I still get
there.
starstruck when I see Nodis down there.
Dude.
I don't know Nodis.
I don't know him either, but you see him.
see
You're
him,
like,
dude.
dude, there's.
Like just chilling or skating?
Oh, he's with his dog. He's with his kid. Like, he's just walking around down there.
That's
He's not
cool.
really skating.
He's being human.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's almost like you don't want to disrupt him either. You're like, oh, there he is.
I want to be
Let
like,
him go.
Nodis! ah!"
Well, one thing I want to just, I don't know how long we get to go.
No, we're wrapping it up, dude. But
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I just
go
want to tell you
ahead.
guys one more thing. Take the time to go on our YouTube channel or wherever you can find it and go watch John Cardiel's acceptance speech. Whenever he
Okay.
got inducted 2014 or whatever it is, he got introduced by Joey Trichet. I guess they're buddies. And he's like, I just got to say, John's the toughest guy, blah, blah, blah. And then John got up there and he didn't know what to say, but he's like, "Thank you, this guy. Thank you, Fausto Vitello. Thank you." He gave me a shout out. Thank you, skateboarding. He went, "Ah!" He gave like a primal scream. Have you ever know what that is? Like where sometimes you just don't know what to do but scream. And it's the fucking, it was real.
Okay.
It was real, man. It's my favorite induction speech. That one and Dwayne Peters. Those are funny ones. So yeah, there it is. Yeah.
I want to say thank you to my brother Joey for getting up here in front of all these people. Thank you for having this, Todd, for putting all this stuff together, to all the archives.
2015.
Of skateboarding. Want to say thank you to Fausto Vitello, Eric Swenson, Jeff Clint, Tommy Guerrero, Jim Thiebaud, Julian Stranger, Jim Muir, John Lucero. Thank you, skateboarders!
everybody.
That was it.
Fucking love you guys.
Just to me, that was real.
That was real, yeah.
Like he stopped for a minute. Who else should I thank? He's literally all going to scream, and that's why I'm doing this.
Right.
And you could tell he wasn't like fully comfortable being up there talking.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard, and that was real shit right there. And that's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
Dude, Todd, man, thank you so much for coming by and sharing
Dude, you
your
guys are
story. And dude, it's been a pleasure, dude.
Yeah,
And-
thanks for welcoming me and making me feel comfortable, and
Of course, bro.
and for doing this yourself. Like,
Thank you, dude.
anyone I tell, I went to lunch today. The guy said, "I heard you're gonna be on the 9 Club. I heard you're gonna be on the 9 Club." So appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
We're just doing our part, man. We're
We
having fun.
appreciate
We're
Yeah, but you're also
people are telling stories
documenting
here.
history,
Right. That's
too,
what we've
in
heard.
such a good way. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Cool. Thank
Kelly,
you guys.
will you do the honors, dude, and get him some 9 Club stuff if you don't mind? We'll give you some stuff to take home.
Oh, that's that part of the deal. I'm
Yeah,
in.
dude.
Oh, I brought you guys some stuff.
You got
actually.
really?
What size T-shirt?
I'm a large T-shirt. There's some stickers for you guys.
Ooh, look at this.
And
dude.
then these are-
Skateboarding Hall of Fame, man.
Some pins I made myself.
What? Okay. Oh yeah. Look at this, bro.
There you go.
I went to the one
just-
where you guys inducted Guy.
Yeah, that was great. I remember after that, the next morning, Scuba Steve called me, and he's like, "Hey, do you think maybe we could take this from Vans? Like, what do we have to do to maybe we can be the guys, you know?"
Right.
And
Right.
I was like, because it was moving too. Like he was, I saw him. Like they were. Whatever Guy said, it made all the other like Nike guys were really moved by it.
Yeah.
And he reached out to me the next day, and we had a meeting scheduled
Always
with
take
Nike.
the meeting.
Always take the meeting. But the day of the meeting, he said, "Hey, the meeting's canceled." I realized I just didn't have the resources, and I thought to myself, "You just told me that Nike doesn't have the resources." I didn't tell him that, but I thought, "Man, that's fucking lame, dude." Like,
Yeah.
But
I think he
let
probably
it go.
just got ahead of himself because
He
he
did.
felt in the moment. You know what I mean?
He did. He absolutely did, and I love him. He just sent me some shoes, which he didn't owe me anything. You know, it was really cool to get a care package.
Scuba is the man. by
He
the way.
is the man.
Straight
he is
up.
the man, and I gave him his first job in the skate industry. I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
I love that, dude.
And now he's doing wonders over there at Nike.
He's probably going to retire soon because he's been. He must, because someone told me after a certain amount, you're out. Like whatever. They're
Like
pretty
you'll
strict.
put in like a 20-year tenure, and you're like, all
And
right,
done.
dude, it's time to leave.
I think
That's
so.
so weird,
That's crazy.
right?
Yeah.
I think
I don't know.
Oh hell yeah, Kelly. Thank you.
Wow, look
bro.
at that.
Yeah, we got a whole little package for you, dude. First of all, Todd.
Hey,
Dude.
thanks. Wait, I heard you're never supposed to shake hands sitting down.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I never heard that.
Yes,
I shake hands with
don't
over
do it.
300 something people.
Stand
sitting
up.
down.
Yeah, we've
Stand
done
up.
that. We've done that the whole time.
Stand up.
300 people.
Yeah, so look, I'm glad I could teach you guys something.
Listen,
meaningful.
just a couple
yeah,
swag,
I like
9 Club hat right here for you.
I
You
like
know,
it,
if
yeah,
you want
yeah.
to keep the sun out your eyes.
I don't do 2 hats, but I'll
Well,
take. I'll put it in my.
you know what?
If
If some kid is ripping at the skateboarding
Hook it up, yeah.
museum, hook them up with it,
Yeah, that's
bro.
a good idea. That's a good idea.
Obviously 9 Club shirt,
I like that. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
nice
college style.
college
Yeah.
style.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, I get
There
it.
you go. There's some college style.
Sick.
Um,
Good summer color too.
coffee guy,
Summer
tea
Yeah,
guy,
yeah, coffee guy.
Okay, the Yeti.
Oh, that's next level.
This fits in your cup holder.
Okay,
it's
good.
dishwasher safe.
Damn.
It is the best thing. I've been drinking this tea the whole two hours and
It's still
15
hot as can
minutes.
be.
Still hot as can be, man. This
Is this a commercial right now?
this thing will save your life.
It's a little infomercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
little,
wonder, is this gonna be-
Go to the 9club.com and
guess you can tell
purchase
how much
now.
I watch the
Purchase now.
show.
Purchase now.
That's
9club.com.
legit, man. You guys are legit over there.
Also, Skull Candy. We
Yeah, Justin Reagan, right?
Yeah, well, they hook us up, man. They sponsor
Isn't
the
he the
show.
guy?
We got the Skull Candy
the guy.
headphones right
Oh, that's
here.
what these are? Wow, cool.
These are the Dime Evos. These are you take your calls on them and do whatever you want. But here's a
Sick.
Dime Evo for you.
Yes.
Sick. Yeah, you guys
And
have some things,
Todd,
man. Thanks.
here's the thing: we didn't even get into your background of skateboarding, but I know you're a ripper. You
Back end
skateboard and
skateboarding.
everything.
No, I'm
like
not
that.
a ripper though. That's probably why, But yeah, I do have a skateboard.
Well, you're better than that 9-year-old.
Yeah. Some of them I'm
But
not.
bro,
though.
you ride a skateboard and everything.
Yeah, what
but
else, 1 inch?
Everybody,
1 inch Phillips or 7/8.
these are 1-inch Phillips.
Thank God. Good.
Okay,
call.
you got it.
Yeah, that's what
okay.
I figured. Like
Okay.
you're a Phillips dude.
I don't do the 7/8.
Yeah, I didn't
That's
think
just
you
too much work, man. I keep putting new nuts back on.
This is our nuts and bolts team. Okay, we got nuts and bolts.
Yeah, I like
this is
that.
our package. This is your.
You should put 9 in there.
It's just nuts and bolts.
No, you should put a 9. You should make it a 9-pack instead of an 8-pack.
Remember
Yeah.
back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it came from SF. I think Sheffy brought it down here. They used to do the 2 bolts in each truck. Remember that one?
Yeah.
The 2.
Yeah.
To save weight, right?
Yeah.
I don't
So
know
like
what it
4
was,
bolts
man.
total?
4 bolts total.
Yeah.
I think
2
you
in
should
each-
do
and then
9
it was
just
3.
to see it.
I
9
tried it
bolts.
and I was like, I don't
I
like it.
loved it, bro.
Yeah,
But they're always rattle loose.
Yeah. Thanks.
So this is our nut. You're on the team.
I am.
You're
I'm on
officially on the Nuts and Bolts team.
Where,
Everybody.
Nice.
Can I see that in writing somewhere?
No. We
You-
don't do anything.
Handshake
No,
deal
put it on the
here.
website.
Yeah, we do handshake deal. This is your first box right here.
Wow.
2 packages
Two
of
packs?
bolts.
And they're 1-inch Phillips.
1-inch Phillips. That's for you, baby.
Oh, and they got the smooth top, which you don't want the threads going
Oh,
through the wood.
no. This is,
right?
you're going to be,
think
put your
you're
next
gonna
board
enjoy 'em.
together with that.
I will. Although
you're
I've
gonna-
had the same board for about 3 years now.
Well, you're the perfect writer then.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we don't have to give you bolts.
Good point. Good point.
Two should
I
work
think
out just fine.
I think I'll just change the bolts just for the fun. of it.
Let's do it, man.
Just to freshen it
okay,
up. That was
everybody
it.
out
Thanks,
there,
guys.
go visit the Skateboarding Hall of Fame if you can. Skateboarding Hall of Fame and Museum in
.org,
Simi
yep.
Valley. Go to the Skateboarding Hall of Fame.
Closed on Mondays and Tuesdays.
.org. Oh yeah,
Yep.
don't go to Mondays or Tuesdays.
Yeah, people have done that and been bombed.
Do they have like a Wetzel's pretzel there, or a Auntie Anne's, or
those
Mrs.
are-
Fields cookies?
None of that
they could-
stuff. No,
Okay.
no, nothing.
Well, just go to the Skateboarding Hall of
Yeah.
Fame then.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
have to. You
yeah, we have snacks.
know. Okay.
So
What?
cool.
Like bags of chips or something?
Yeah,
Or
chips
cookies?
and drinks.
Famous Amos.
Snack machine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we don't have a snack machine anymore. We used to.
Okay.
Skateboarding's down right now.
I know.
It
I
sucks.
know. Well, listen, go support Todd Huber and the Skateboarding Hall of Fame
Yes.
Museum.
Yeah, please
you
do.
go.
Please
Skaters
do.
supporting skaters.
Yeah,
Thank you
guys.
so much,
Cheers,
Todd.
guys. So you guys
Yes.
made me really comfortable. It's,
Bro.
it's a fun experience.
You're the man.
Yeah,
Here we
yeah,
go.
I don't know. I'm not the man.
Yeah, you are.
I'm a man.
You're a man
That's why I had
doing.
to stand up when I shook your hand.
You're doing
That's what men
great
do.
things. You're doing great things.
Thanks.
for
And we
Thank you.
appreciate you, bro. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerome. I appreciate that. When I saw that board, I was like 99. It means I've known you for over 25 years.
It's crazy.
It's a long time.
Where's the
It
Keenan
is.
board, by the way? Did you put up the?
It's back there. I
It's
think.
back there.
Oh, it's right
Yeah.
here.
Oh, it's right there. Okay.
Yeah, and I
Thank
I
you
have
for
two
bringing
of
the
them.
Keenan board.
I know you probably won't put this in, but I just want to say it. I've said it a
we
million
will.
times, but I have two Keenan boards. The other one is in that traveling display called Skateboard. It's in Brussels
Okay.
until September at the Brussels Design Museum until the end of September. And if you're anywhere near there, you should go.
Okay.
Because it's a high. It's not like my museum, which not to burn myself, but this is like the kind of museum where like real people go to visit. Like it's legit. It's legit. It's legit. It's a real museum, and the fact that they show skateboarding in such a beautiful, high quality way. It's good for all of us.
So it's like an art museum. The way
Yes,
that it's set up.
it's a design museum.
Okay.
So the show, it's
Oh, look at the
incredible.
space, Jesus.
And the show it celebrates all the design elements of skateboarding, and all the things that worked in design. Look, there's the cam, 8th Street video.
All those
Real
great
quick.
videos right there.
Okay, I just wanted to see that.
Yeah, there's some clay wheels. Yeah, it's worth.
There's the barnyard.
Yeah, the barnyard.
Yeah.
Please don't eat my friends. I think it says on the other side.
Future primitives.
Yeah, Future Primitive. Like, it's just a cool display. It's just,
awesome.
and somebody asked me that if I thought it was negative to have this type of museum, showing skateboards, and I just thought,
How is that negative?
is there any way?
looks
It's the
beautiful.
exact opposite that a museum of this quality is showing our history to regular people that aren't skateboarders.
Those are sick.
And it also it started in London. So this show is in London, which I also went to the opening, and now it's in Brussels, and it's going to eventually come back here to the States. I just love that. There's the Patty McGee cover.
Yeah.
Like look at that. Like
Super sick.
that is
Very clean.
That is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
That's the
it
way-
really is.
that's a
and
great
it's
presentation.
I hope someday that the Hall of Fame looks as nice as that. That's what when I die, I'm hoping something like that is left behind.
I'm just going to tell you this right now, though. It's beautiful, but what you have going on right there is epic as well. When I
Thank
walked in there, I was like, "Damn, I'm in a skateboard museum."
Yeah, it's
it
hard
was
to
like
get a read on
everything
you, so
the
I wasn't
wall.
sure.
No, it was great. It was great.
yeah, it'd be cool to have what I have with a section like that.
There you go.
So it's
there you
both,
go.
you know?
Yeah.
Did you
Because
go to-
also, sorry, I was just gonna say because sometimes skateboarding is so core, it's grimy,
Yeah, yeah.
That like I like the contrast of that. It's
Yeah,
like
I agree.
you could have a nice little space like that, but still have like
Yeah, the
old
smell.
boards and the what I mean.
It's a certain smell.
Yeah.
Just when I went to that shop in Belgium, it smelled like a skate shop.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry about that.
It's all
Dubs.
good.
It's all good.
Todd, thank you so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you guys.
stopping by. We appreciate you. Go support Skateboarding Hall of Fame
Psyched to
and
be on here.
Museum, everybody.
Yeah, Jesse Pudwill told me, "Oh, you're finally gonna be on the 9 Club." He's like, I guess there's a place where you can suggest guests.
Yeah.
He's like, I always suggest you. He likes to take credit for me being.
You know
here.
what it is? You know what it is? It's all about timing.
Absolutely.
It's all about
That
timing.
too.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of our show.
Yeah, you
man.
can't-
And
you can't force
also,
it.
come back anytime.
Oh wow, I like that open invitation.
There you go. Doors
I
always
might
open.
take you up on it when something good comes my way.
Let's go. Yeah.
down, bro.
Todd
Cheers,
Huber, everybody.
cheers,
Thank
cheers.
you.
Appreciate you guys.